delegates, respected teachers, and my dear friends. I, Ranjana Sharma, heartily welcome all to you from the fathom of my heart on the marvelous occasion of international webinar, writing a research grant proposal. It is a really my proud and privilege to welcome our eminent guest on this not not equable memorable. I also thank special guests from core of my heart for sparing their precious time for this webinar. This is a big event. The program is a shape in the way to attract interest, and I am certain this webinar will be successful event. So may I invite Honorable Vice Chancellor of TMU, Professor Raghuveer Singh. He has been management education for last 25 years. Professor Singh is a soft skill research methodology, aggregation and outcome education.
Hello, Dr. Rakesh, could I start?
Yeah, I think, sir, you
okay.
have.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My hearty welcome to all participants and the expert panel which CCSIT has assembled for this topic. And also many congratulations to Dr. Rakesh Dwivedi and his team for organizing this very relevant topic. And I'm sure a lot of participants would immensely benefit from the expert view. However, I too also like to express my viewpoint on this particular topic. The word comes proposal. Since it is a proposal, it has to be acceptable to somebody. And somebody here is a granting agency. Therefore, before we set in writing this proposal, you must keep the recipient in mind. We must keep the beneficiary in mind. How this proposal, which I am being, I prepare, will be beneficial to him or the agency. Because it's very difficult to take out money for somebody else's pocket. It's like that. Your proposal has to be very sound. Hence, we say to be acceptable to anybody else, it has to be highly relevant. It has to be interesting and should come from, most of it should be from an emerging area. My number of years of experience says that, especially in social sciences and management, a lot of proposals are oft-repeated. Many of them consumer studies. Everything is about all consumer studies. How long, how it is going to add value. Look at from the beneficiaries or the granting agencies point of view, that they are looking for something which is new and add value, or that gives return for their money being spent on it. So it has to be highly convincing to them that this proposal would lead to uncertain and definite outcomes. And also must keep in mind, since it is a written communication, it's like a bullet fired. It never comes back. You have no control over it. So words sent from your end will not be asked to repeat, will not be asked for any explanation. So the entire proposal has to be self-explanatory. It has to have a relevant and strong language, written in a precise style, and an excellent design as proposed with them, and the format in which the agency has asked for. Please don't waver from that particular format. It is so essential. Then when you write a proposal, there are essential components of that particular proposal. I emphasize that your initial work on the proposal has to be very sound. When I say initial, means identifying your problem, which includes going through the literature, raising various questions when you review your literature, identifying those problems and bringing out your objectives out of that. If that clarity is there in your mind, you lay a very strong base for your proposal. So that, in my mind, becomes most essential. Then, later on when you use your analytical tools and methods. So if your base is weak, however good your methods are, they are of no relevance. So before you start your writing proposal, please write a summary. It is because someone who is going to evaluate your proposal is not going to through the entire proposal. First, you like to look at the summary. If summary interests the evaluator, definitely they like to go to the details. So be very careful in your writing a summary. That means you should know what to include in summary, what not to include. So that's the first paper before the evaluator, or that's your first contact point before the evaluator. Hence, your summary has to be very strong and relevant. And then you should have, as I mentioned, the literature review, strong literature review. That means where has the problem emerged from? You got to really define it, and you will have to convince yourself as well as the evaluator. Then important thing is that you have to show your capacity. That means how capable you are to undertake this particular research. The capacity in both terms, institutional as well as the individual and the team. That means, do you have an experience having handled this kind of a proposal, or a larger or a shorter proposal, or in this particular area? How experienced is your team as well as the proposer himself? What kind of facilities do you have? What kind of research work the institution has been engaging? Because that would convince the beneficiary or the granting agency that you have capacity to execute such a proposal. Then your problem statement has to be very precise. You got to hook on that particular problem. Don't go on writing blah blah. That's a major problem with most of us. We write too much of theory text, and therefore losing the main site of the problem. And we end up highlighting the text and hiding the problem behind the text. So let's get out of that particular problem. Okay, and then of course we should have a very strong design. Your design has to be really convincing, because if your design has been frozen, it is understood by the evaluator that you are going to stick to those methods and tools which you are suggesting in your proposal. So a design has to be very convincing. Similarly, your implementation plan. How are you going to execute if you were to execute this plan, which includes your time frame, which includes your resources, which includes your specific action plan? That means what are you going to do, and when are you going to do, and how are you going to do? All that action plan should be there in the. And then finally, you got to show sustainability. Can this proposal be sustained beyond this honeymoon time? That means the time period which you have been given the grants, and would there be any kind of a TOT, that is transfer technology? Will there be any kind of a product or some process? That's an end result you have to show to the granting agency. Now, if you put in all of these, you got to now look at from their perspective. What are they looking for? What kind of criteria would they use in evaluating your proposal? See, in my mind, the first most important criteria is relevance and effectiveness. That means the results, what you expect from the result, and how relevant it is to the granting agency. Each granting agency have their specific domain. So it has to be from that particular domain, and your proposal has to always deal with something which is very trendy. For example, if you were to write a proposal today, most of it is all about health management, whether technology in health management, management practices in health management, or it is related to some kind of a vaccine or a medicine development for this particular problem. So I'm sure in this particular situation, if your proposal is relevant to the current problem, it will get through.
तो ये हम लिखते हैं इस पे
And then you're looking for the impact.
ये नहीं आता तुम्हारा
How the results of yours are going to really impact the life of people, or the life of the concerned people, or the impact on some specific aspect of an organization or a department. So that impact has to be precisely mentioned, and then we'll always look at feasibility. Hey, can it be done? In terms of technology, in terms of economics, is it possible? And then, of course, efficiency. Are you going to put in more money than the results, or your results are going to be greater than the funds we are going to put? And ultimately, the financials. That means when you give budgetary details, many of us don't even provide budgetary details. Look at what are their guidelines. That means what percentage of funds you are proposing on what activity. So there are specific guidelines how to prepare the budget. How much you're going to put in for the salary, how much you're going to put in on the equipment, how much you're going to put in the project execution, how much the researcher is going to have as a share, etc., has to be precisely defined. And I'm sure the experts which we have today would definitely let us know, the audience, that what are the sources of funding. This is a major problem many of us, our colleagues face. Where do I write? Who would provide me? So I'm sure you will get a lot of ideas about sources of funding, where all it comes from, and which agency pays for what kind of a work. That will become a very, very important learning today. And then you've done all this hard work, put in a couple of months time on this, preparing this sport. Finally, when you are being asked to make a presentation before the panel to give you, to grant you, we make a mess out of it. So we got to be really excellent presenters. I'm sure our experts will take care of how to actually make a good presentation or an effective presentation to crack the deal. You might have best of the things you've written in your proposal, but if you are not able to convince them when you are face to face, you will lose the battle. So let's learn how to make a effective present. That means in a given period of time, what kind of information to be shared with them. Especially I gone to the research, proposals and research, thesis presentation. A presenter generally spends so much of time on the initial aspect of the proposal, reading out of this and reading something which is obvious. So look at when you're making a presentation, are you including things which are obvious? Are you going to read out of from this? What are you missing? And make sure that you make a couple of presentations before your colleagues, so that you become confident not only in making a presentation, but also your colleagues would suggest, hey, what are you missed, what you must remove out of this. I think that practice would make you a far more efficient presenter. And finally, we always come across certain problems and issues when we develop our proposal. One of the things we have come across is we do not give enough importance to the initial phase of the proposal, though it should be the most important aspect, because this gives clarity not only to yourself but the beneficiary or the granting agency. Because please realize that if the first part is not convincing, that means your problem itself is not well defined. So however strong your methods are, it's of no use to them. And the second important thing, please adhere to the funding guidelines. Make sure that you have broken down your budgets as suggested, and there is a strong justification for each component of your budget. Then look at the layout. The layout has to be appealing. Layout should in fact attract the reader. And then of course, a lot of us use undefined terms and strong jargons in our proposals that will make a life difficult for the evaluator. So let's stick to those relevant terms which are very specific to our subject matter. And many times it happens that we overlook the comments of the reviewer. That means we don't go by each statement of the reviewer's comments before we resubmit the proposal or we make a presentation. Assure that those reviewers' comments are taken care completely. And finally, many times we overstate our goals and objectives. That means we become too ambitious in our goals and objectives. And then when you write rest of the proposal, those goals and objectives are not taken care of. That shows clearly that we hadn't applied our mind properly to our proposal. Hence, why should someone grant you this proposal? I'm sure all that what I have spoken would definitely be dealt with in detail by each of the expert, and I'm sure you will at the end of the day will be far more enriched by attending this particular seminar. I wish you all the best, and thank you for giving me the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And I am sure under your super leadership and guidance, Tirthankar Mahavir University will achieve new height and we will reach to pinnacle of success. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone, and all the best.
Now, I request backbone of college faculty of engineering and computing science, Tirthankar Mahavir University Principal Professor R.K. Dwivedi to introduce this webinar. Please, sir, you are requested to brief the theme of webinar. Welcome, sir. Thank you, sir. Welcome, sir. Sir, you are, yes. Hello. I request you, sir.
Dr. Dwivedi, your microphone is muted. Please unmute it. Yeah, now it's been done.
I hope now I'm able to speak.
Yeah, you are able to, we could listen to you now.
So thank you, Ranjana, and the organizing team of this international webinar on writing a research grant proposal. As a professor university has given a strong foundation how to write a good research proposal. He conveyed various facts related with the research writing proposal for grant. Our one of worthy colleague, Professor Dr. Chun Che Lance Fang, Emeritus Professor of Murdoch University, Murdoch, Western Australia, he is going to put more focus on this. However, I am thankful that organizing team has given me the responsibility to speak something on this topic, research writing a research grant proposal. So friends, my view, in fact, presentation would be shared to all participants. I am thankful to the organizers that we have got the huge number of participation. Approximately 1100 participants have registered for this program, but because the limitation of the tool, we are not able to accommodate all. but maybe think in future to organize such kind of webinar, useful webinar. So as I have said, presentation would be shared to each one of you at later stage. Now I am coming on to the subject part, that how to present a strong grant proposal to compete effectively. Friends, writing a research proposal is an art. However, before you begin to write your proposal, keep in mind that few points. First point, it is necessary that to find out in an advance what source of funding are available. This is very much important. You must identify the funding agency. Then either it is from government or from United Nations agencies or some international NGOs or from private foundations. These are the some basic sources, perhaps as per of my knowledge you may have, and you look that for your work how many agencies are funding. Then another one is the most donors look for the degree of local initiative in the project proposal. This is very much essential. The utilization of the available resources within the country itself and the plans for the project to be self-supporting once the initial funding has been spent. Another important ingredient of writing is basically your project should be practical, not too costly, and have a potential for being repeated in other situations. This is reusability, in fact. Another ingredient that funding agencies are looking for integrated approach to development projects. This means that you will want to see that extent of your project supports and supplements existing activities and designed to overcome the identified problems, because a problem identification is very much needed. My dear researchers and colleagues, almost all United Nations and government agencies, foundations, and private voluntarily agencies have their own proposal format. No need to go for any specific kind of format. All agencies are having their own proposal format that they will want you to follow. All right. If you are not in contact with the local or regional representatives, write a letter, request letter, and may ask that kindly share your proper procedures and application format and funding requirements. So sometimes you may not have, then you can take a clarification. Another very important point that फाइंड आउट द बजटिंग साइकिल ऑफ एजेंसी, ये भी एक बड़ा जरूरी पॉइंट है, क्योंकि जैसे बैंक में होता है ना कि एक स्पेसिफिक पीरियड में ही एजुकेशन लोन अवेलेबल होता है, सिमिलर काइंड ऑफ कॉन्सेप्ट्स लाइंग विद फंडिंग एजेंसी. So find out the budgeting cycle of the agency, whether annual, quarterly, or ongoing. These things are helping you to write a research proposal and getting it accepted. Writing research proposal is good. In fact, we are also writing many proposals, but sometimes we are getting rejected. But failure is not like that. You will never get. You keep doing, and the day will come. All right. So if you are writing a proposal for government agencies, all right, or for what kind of things basically we are asking for the fund, that research fellowship and postgraduate research, this is one domain. For this we are writing a research grant proposal. Another dimension is conferences and events. Then another one is study grants. Then research grants, basically to do the research. And that could be many agencies. In India, DST, basically SERB is one who is, I will come later on with the detailing of SERB. So writing a research grants, and another one is the solicited proposals. So I'm discussing the structure. Basically, structure, proposal structure should consist of executive summary at first instance, then problem or need statement, whatever you say, that need statement or the problem statement defined very precisely. Then project description, and project description is having basically 4 parts. One is objectives, then staffing and administration is another section where you have to describe many things. All execution model is lying under the staffing and administration. Then evaluation, and then sustainability. These 4 ingredients will fall in under the category of proposal description. Then 4th point, budget. All right. And in 5th point, information about your organization. All right, that where you are associated, and for what I mean, under what capacity you are associated. Basically, new budding researchers are making certain mistakes, that they are not able to understand the research proposal and project proposal. So these are having a slight difference. I am just elaborating that a research proposal basically emphasize the contribution that research will make to the field. Am I right? The research proposal emphasize the contribution that the research will make to the particular field. Am I right? And project proposal emphasize that impact of the activity will have. All right. And in project proposal, evaluation is usually more important. All right. So as I discussed that part of the research proposal, I chalked out various parts. Now a good research proposal have title, cover page at first instance, then the abstract, very precisely written with good and effective English, because abstract everybody reads. Then table of contents, then introduction, then background, then description of the proposal, description of the proposed research, then description of the relevant institutional resources. You must include the references. All right. And then personal in the sense the involvement of the people and what kind of involvement they have, and all, as sir has Professor Raghuveer Singh ji has suggested that staffing kind, what kind of equipments you are purchasing or using, and what kind of persons you are needing, back office support, etc. I will discuss in detail. And then budget. Then title page, if I discuss this, these are the salient things. And then title page, as I have said, the format is specified by the funding agency. And then the principal investigator, जो मेन होता है इसमें, मतलब उसका प्रोफाइल भी ठीक होना चाहिए प्रिंसिपल इन्वेस्टिगेटर का, और वैल्यू तब ऐड होती है अगर आपने 1-2 प्रोजेक्ट डिलीवर कर दिए हैं. If you have delivered 1 or 2 projects, then this will give you a confidence to the evaluating agency. All right. Then principal investigator, if we are in academics, then department heads and the university officials, usually signatory authorities and all. Then name of the organization being submitted to, title of the proposal, starting date and budget period. All right, कि कितना बजट पहले आएगा, कितना बजट बाद में आएगा. Then total funds requested, name and address of the institution. The title page should be professional looking, but do not use fancy covers. बहुत ज़्यादा उसमें coloring की ज़रूरत नहीं है, but that should looks nice. So friends, title page consists of all these. Format, जैसा कि मैंने कहा, funding agency से मिलेगी. Principal investigator details, department details, name of the organization, title of the proposal, starting date and budget period, total funds requested, name and address of the institutions. All right. And it is professionally good looking. Another important thing that attracts funding agency evaluators is a good title. Title is very important. It should reflect the focus of your research work. All right. The most important words should come first. ज्यादा important word है उनको आप अच्छे से पहले लिखिए. Avoid words, avoid words that add nothing to a reader's understanding, such as studies on, investigations, research on some problems. So try to avoid the words which is not giving the much strength to your title. Then table of content. In fact, what your proposal is having, that you must have a very good table of contents, that list of tables, list of figures, acronyms you are using. So everything you list down. Then abstract. Then abstract is basically every proposal should have one abstract only. And your proposal, in your proposal, this abstract is called executive summary. In some formats we may call it executive summary. Then abstract should summarize your project proposal, and it is the most important part of your proposal, what I can say. And then introduction part. Introduction part, basically I saw many students or budding researchers are writing introduction too lengthy. Not needed. Start with capsule statement of what is being proposed. All right. And you should not assume that your to whom you are writing, he is familiar with your subject. It should be comprehensively I mean to say, what I can say, it should be comprehensively informed to the layman, that being a layman, people could understand. It should give enough background to enable him to place your research problem in context to the common knowledge. Am I right? And should show its solution will advance the field, advance to that particular field, are to the important for some other work. All right. बहुत सारे लोग बहुत ज़्यादा लिखते हैं. Do not overwrite. Do not overstate. But do stay very specifically what the importance of your research is. This is very much important. Another area, as I elaborated, need statement या problem statement. ठीक है ना? So, my dear good friends, need statement or problem statements gives you the insight to causes of need. हमें क्यों इसकी जरूरत है? क्या आवश्यकता है इसकी? Express the bad effects if needs not met. ये चीज जरूर specify करें कि if the mentioned needs are not specified, this may give some negative impact. State how urgent the project is needed. Make clear the scale of demand for a solution, and so how project will address the problem. So all these things has to mention in need statement. Then another point which you have mentioned in your research proposal is background information. This background information basically this is not very much necessary, what I can say, but this relevant background you can present in few sentences. If previous or related work must be discussed in some detail, all right, so you can give the references, so that if the evaluating agency needs to understand the background, they could review those literatures. All right. And literature review should be selective and critical. Literature review should be selective and critical. Reviewers only want to know the pertinent work and your evaluation of them. How you have identified those gaps, All right. So literature review part should be selective and critical. A list of work. Am I audible to everybody? थोड़ा बीच बीच में आप लोग मेरे को पिंग करते रहिए.
Yes, sir. Sir, you are audible.
Okay.
Yes,
So
audio is audible.
Okay, fine. Thank you. So friends, background information में जो मैं बात कर रहा था कि list of work. All right. Whatever you have studied, all right, and whatever the gap you have identified, and for making those gaps clear with your problem statement. As I have said, that your problem statement should be clear, and that gives the insight of causes of need. So another one is description of proposed research proposal. This is, as I have said, this is very important section. ये backbone होता है. This section of the proposal is the comprehensive explanation of the proposed research proposal. It is addressed to other specialists in your field. It is heart of the proposal and the primary concern of technical reviewers. अगर आपका टेक्निकल प्रपोजल है तो ये आपको प्रोजेक्ट दिलवाने में ये सेक्शन बहुत मदद करेगा. ठीक है ना. आपको ग्रांट दिलवाने में this includes several subsections. As I have said, aim or objective of the proposal, methodology, and the expected results, जिसको कि आप expected outcomes कहते हैं, and the conclusion. All right. Be realistic, as Professor Raghuveer Singh ji has also suggested. Be realistic in the designing of the program of the work. All right. And ऐसा नहीं है कि हम आसमान से तारे तोड़ लाएंगे. It should be manageable. Research plan should be scaled down to a specific and manageable project. All right. You may include the references also. Be consistent, whatever the style is chosen, whatever is given under that category, you must mention. Then information. One is biographical data part, जहाँ पर कि आप profile management profile mention करते हैं. You are mentioning the profile. If the program is complex and involves people from other departments or the colleges, the organization of the staff and the lines of responsibility should made it clear. Any student participation, paid or unpaid, should be mentioned. ये बहुत जरूरी है कि कौन सा participation paid category का है, कौन सा participation unpaid category का है, and the nature of the proposed contribution. Usually people are making mistakes here. If any person must be hired for the project, all right, so you must explain that for what purpose, all right, for what purpose he has been hired. Then this noise comes from somewhere else. I request to kindly mute so that I can discuss. Then the budget section. Budgets are developed according to the sponsors and the university guidelines. This section is an overview of common features that, depending on the complexity, the budget section may require not only a tabular budget with line of items, but may also require the budget summary and the explanation and the justification and budget notes, etc. These things are very much common once you are writing a research proposal. And typical, if we divide in sections, then personal, I mean कि कितने लोगों के ऊपर कितना पैसा खर्च होगा. Equipment is another section. हमें कौन से मशीन की जरूरत होगी, कौन से इंस्ट्रूमेंट की जरूरत होगी, and supplies. All right. And then travel and कुछ indirect cost. ठीक है ना. And if you are having other than these categories, you can add. All right. And I mean, अगर इसको ज्यादा आपको बड़ा करना है, जैसा कि बहुत सारे फॉर्मेट्स में होता है, सैलरीज एंड वेजेस में आप दे सकते हैं कि एकेडमिक पर्सनल, रिसर्च असिस्टेंट कितने होंगे, स्टाइफंड कितना जाएगा, कंसल्टेंट्स कितने होंगे, इंटरव्यू करोगे तो कितना खर्चा आएगा, कंप्यूटर प्रोग्रामर कितने चाहिए जो कि डेटा को सिमुलेट करेंगे, आपको रिजल्ट बताएंगे, कितने सारे लोग ऐसे होंगे जो tabulators होंगे. Basically these are the some common designations we have. Then back office support person कितने होंगे, clerk, typist, etc. And many like अगर documentary section है तो editorial assistance के लिए कितना रहेगा, ठीक है ना. I think these kind of sections are including in salary and wages section. Then another one is the equipment section. तो कितने फिक्स्ड इक्विपमेंट चाहिए होंगे, कितने मूवेबल इक्विपमेंट चाहिए होंगे, ऑफिस इक्विपमेंट कितने चाहिए होंगे, इक्विपमेंट इंस्टॉलेशन की क्या कॉस्ट होगी. ऑल दीज थिंग्स, दोज हु हैव रिटन अ प्रपोजल दे मस्ट अंडरस्टैंड माय व्यूज. देन ट्रैवल का क्या खर्चा आएगा. अभी तो कोविड-19 चल रहा है, देयर इज नॉट मच ट्रैवल. अदरवाइज इंटरनेशनल ट्रैवल कितनी होंगी, नेशनल ट्रैवल कितनी होंगी, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव स्टाफ कितना ट्रैवल करेगा, फील्ड, हाउ मच फील्ड वर्क. मैं थोड़ा बीच में हिंदी बोल देता हूँ, बहुत सारे इंटरनेशनल ऑडियंस भी हैं, तो मैं बीच बीच में हिंदी इंग्लिश मिक्स कर रहा हूँ. अगर लैंग्वेज का इशू होगा तो मुझे बता दीजिएगा. तो ट्रैवल में फील्ड सर्वे, फॉर फील्ड सर्वे हाउ मच वी डू एक्सपेंडिचर. मीटिंग्स में, प्रोफेशनल मीटिंग्स में हमें व्हाट एवर द एक्सपेंडिचर्स, and travel for consultations. All right. Then like aircraft rental, if ship rental is involved, then that could also include it. Friends, then others in other section, I need water. Then in other section like purchase of the periodical books, journals and magazines to get the information. Then if stationery and pay charges, like all these things, and in indirect cost. So all these things I discussed the template, and inside of the template what the information we have to include. अब मैं उस section में आ रहा हूँ कि where the project proposals are rejected, why the project proposals are rejected. Sometimes the requirement of equipment or the personnel seems to be unrealistic by the evaluating agency. This is one reason. उनको लगता है कि ये higher side, he has quoted higher side. It appears, another reason, that it appears that the other responsibilities would be prevented devotion of sufficient time and attention to this research. All right. And sometimes institutional setting is unfavorable also. Then research grant to the investigator. All right. And the amount is proposed for that research seems to be very much higher side. This could be the reason. Now I am talking about the agencies. I'll share my presentation. In fact, organizers could share the presentation to all attendees. The funding agency, hot water. The funding agencies, if I talk about the Indian context, DST, Department of Science and Technology, under this SERB, all right, this Science and Engineering Research Board, which is responsible for funding of engineering and science side. Then National Science Foundation, in fact, I'll share the website of all. This is one agency. Then the Social Science Research Council is another agency. Then if I talk about other kind of university, so one university, James Madison University, is one who is always funding for the research. Then funding and proposal writing for social science faculty research. Keep it there. Then another one is University Grant Commission is also funding, and many other universities of Western world, they are funding, like University of Michigan, and then Then council, Microsoft Foundation is also funding. Friends, now I'm discussing that that these are the some funding agencies, and then you can find out grant funding resource information with many today's world is internet world, and you can find many world. In fact, in many other domain like marine science and atmospheric research and oceanic research, there are many agencies are in these areas. All right, who is working on natural resource conservations. They are funding. Other this is basically related with the government funding and some NGOs funding. Other type of grants, basically many foundations or many corporate like Microsoft Foundation, as I have said, and many, if I talk about India, the Reliance Foundation and other corporate agencies are also. Tata is leading that corporate house. They are also providing a various kind of funds. However, their area is defined that they are funding on environmental and environmental impact and human safety or species safety. All right. Science, and they are in fact these foundation are less funding for science and technology. They are funding 25% of their funds are related with the education and environmental impact analysis and species conservations. So you could see all these areas. Another one is budget your time. अभी तो जो मैंने आपको बताया, what I told you, that budget. Another very important and crucial thing, budget your time. All right, to whom you are partnering for your project, you do a solid partnership, non-breakable and non-breachable. Proper communication you have. You must have innovative projects, define your budgets, and you must have a precise planning and execution of that planning for your research project. So time is money. You must have all these things. So friends, basic grant application component, if I talk, so for more competitive applications, you must include, if you are making it more competent, then detailed methodological description of the activity you can mention. And if you are including the detailed budget, how to match your funds and how it could be used, you give more emphasis and more clarity. This creates a transparency in the evaluator's minds, and demonstrate one thing is very important. Like we are in Moradabad, and if we are meeting, if we are trying to represent the fact that how it is giving benefit to the local community, this is putting a very much weight factor to grant the fund for your proposal. Then it's quite obvious. Principal investigators' experience and expertise is also giving the confidence. So once you are nominating anybody as principal investigator, he or she must be capable enough at least to sail your boat. All right. लोगों को ये एहसास होना चाहिए, ये कॉन्फिडेंस होना चाहिए कि आप जिसको भी प्रिंसिपल इन्वेस्टिगेटर बना रहे हैं, वो उस प्रोजेक्ट को या उस रिसर्च को एंड टू एंड सोल्यूशन तक लेके जाएगा. ऑल राइट. एंड at last, realistic description, timeline with benchmarks for deliverables. This is very important. And what more I would like if I talk about the weak proposals may not have any directions and guidelines, and in fact many people are just submitting the proposal. In fact, they do not proofread, they are having lot of errors. So evaluators are rejecting in first instance only. All right. Having an incorrect and insufficient match, lack of coordination, and having a lot of duplication in their activities. So uh, these kind of things are rejecting your proposal at first instance. So what more? What I say that you must have a little cordial relationship with funders also. This could also help if you are having a better relationship or better coordination with funders. This is also giving a weightage to sanction or to grant your research proposal. So build a good relationship with funders. Be courteous. ये बिल्कुल मेरी एक खास बात है आपके लिए कि if you are courteous, all right, people will certainly help you, because politeness, humbleness is the hallmark of success. So be courteous, respect their time. If they said you come for the presentation at this particular time, you reach 5 minutes before. Know their interests also, what exactly they want, and discuss the opportunities with them. Do necessary follow up.
Okay, thank you.
And what more? I hope, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Friends, okay. So basically I'm in last phase. In fact, I'll take not much time. So as I said, I was discussing that get a fund or to get a grant, you must have a better rapport with the funders. Be courteous, respect their time, try to know their interest, and discuss the opportunity, and do regular follow up. Then you if needed, give the information about your organization, that what kind of organization where you are working, what is the organizational structure, and what makes you different. यहाँ पर थोड़ा सा आपको cleverly you have to specify, all right, that why you are different, because many people are rushing for that kind of grant. Then you must have that kind of convincing temperament. You must have that kind of convincing temperament, that what makes you different. And you also convince them with your experience and the competency to run the project, all right, and include your endorsement by appropriate and respected individual. These things are definitely putting weight to accept your proposal, all right. Executive summary section, I am repeating that you have a short statement on your problems, description of the solutions, benefits, time scale, location, and who is involved. These things you precisely mention. And what more? And then I think now I discuss little bit about STAR, because many people are from science and engineering background, and if I talk about the Indian context, SERB, many people are applying with SERB. So one of the most notable, what I can say, development in the science and technology sector. And in 11th plan has been the, what I can say, setting up the Science and Engineering Research Board, which is known as SERB, through the Act of Parliament in 2008. Then the basic aim of this agency is promoting basic research in science and engineering, and to provide financial assistance to persons engaged in such research, academic institutions, research and development laboratories, industrial concerns, and other agencies for such research and for matters concerned therewith. So this is the prime what I can say, model of SERV. And in many domain, I am telling you the domain where the SERV is funding, that identification of, in fact, you can see, if you people are visiting the SERV website, then you can find out the
demand we need to
intensification of research in high priority areas. There is some noise. I request, just I am in the work to sum up. If you kids could give me 5-10 minutes, I will conclude.
Especially the solar energy. In India, we can exploit solar energy to the larger extent.
Yeah.
What is the management? When we know that we have a certain amount of supply, we also know that there is a big demand. We need to think of the management of energy, whatever the number we have. Here,
yes, sir.
Control.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you are very much audible, and your points are very relevant. Okay. As sir has narrated certain specific areas, and I mean, maybe we can take up in form of startup research grants. That is the new domain. So if I talk about, I'm talking about the SERB domain, schemes and programs. So they are offering the grant in the domain of intensification of research in high priority areas. They are offering for startup research grants, and they are offering core research grant as well as. All right. So one is SUPRA. Many of us are knowing that scientific and useful profound research advancement for this area, service is funding, in fact, and they are accepting many proposals. Although there is always a discussion that private sector and government sector and public sector. However, if we are continuing writing and requesting them, I hope that if we are working with positive spirit, will certainly do and will get. So another area is empowerment and equity opportunities for excellence in science. If I talk about the mathematical research impact centric support, in this area also service funding, impacting the research innovation and technology imprint too. Many research grant has been sanctioned and also open. All right. Rest, they are also funding for seminars, symposia, short-term special courses, especially with respect to COVID-19. If I talk, SERV has opened many research grants, and we may apply with respect to COVID-19. Then they are also, SERV is also providing the research grant on National Postdoctoral Fellowship, J.C. Bose Fellowship, Ramanujan Fellowship in the area of mathematics. Then Teachers Association for Research Excellence, this TAIR, and the visiting advanced joint research faculty, this Vizara is this is one domain where service funding. Then many funds are available for postdoctoral fellowship or overseas visit. Then serve science and technology award for research, and in some area of specifically for women's, that serve women excellence award. So we may in fact explore this today's forum to make the people aware that these are the agencies available in India and abroad. My humble submission to visit this serveonline.in, and you can find many good things are there. All right, and what I can say, you can formulate your research grant proposal, specifically in technology domain where cloud computing is involved. Many legal issues of online payments, legality of bitcoins and in using blockchain technology. So as this what I can say, multimedia world is virtualized, there are many other domains are emerging in technology domain where we can write the research grant proposal. So I hope I had tried little to make you aware then how to write a research grant proposal. This is all from my side, and I'm thankful to all participants and listeners for their valuable and patient listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for explaining the significant point about this webinar and research proposal. That will be certainly ignite the interested for all participants, and we learn something innovative. And I am sure your leadership will take the university on a new orbit. Thank you so much, sir, for providing input regarding effective writing proposal for funding agency. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
So moving ahead, I would like to invite our next eminent speakers. It is a golden opportunity for me to read the enriched profile of our prominent speakers. Professor Professor Lang Swung, graduate with BSc degree with first class honors and master degree from University of Wales, UWIST. His PhD degree was awarded by University of Western Australia with a thesis of artificial intelligence. Now, his role have include Associate Dean of Research, Postgraduate Research Directors, and Director of Center for Enterprise Collaboration in Innovative System. He has published more than 330 academic articles. Professor Lang has been a delegate volunteer for IEEE for over 25 years in various positions in the chapter, WA section, Australia Council and Region, 10 Executive Committee, and his motto is learning has no boundary. By these words, I would like to invite Professor Fung. Welcome you, sir. Please.
Okay, good morning, and thank you very much for the invitation. Can you hear me? And also, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, we are very much able to hear you, and we are able to see your screen.
Okay, thank you so much. So
Yes,
what
sir.
I do is I'm going to take away my camera so that you can concentrate, take a look at the screen. I'm really honored and a pleasure that I'm able to join you from Perth, Western Australia. And from what I heard from the two eminent speakers just now, Professor Singh, well, the officiating Vice Chancellor of the TMU, and also Professor Rakesh Vividi, well, the Director of the Faculty of Engineering and Computing Science. And more or less, I must say that, well, you have covered every point already. So really, in a way that, well, really, I say that, well, my work might be redundant. But nevertheless, I might have another component that whereby I hope I can share with you is on the introduction to the IEEE. It stands for Institute of Electronics and Electrical Engineers. And as you have heard in the introduction, that I have been a volunteer for IEEE for more than 25 years. And also this year, I also have the honor and pleasure being nominated as one of the candidates in the coming 2021 to 2022 director-elect for the region. So I thank you for the sponsorship, also for the different units for this talk as well. So I think this opportunity, well, to thank you, Professor Rakesh again, and also thank you for the organizing team for this webinar, for Dr. Rajiv Kumar, and also the other team members, Ranjana, Asher Vishnoy, Amit Singh, and also Shekhar Gambit. You well set your mind well among the audience, because I understand I was told a couple of hundred people have signed up, so I presume that there are different roles that you are right now in your audience, and what your expectation in here. Well, since I'm going to introduce the IEEE, so I'm hoping that this will be an opportunity I can introduce to the general public. Or maybe even the IEEE members, well, not necessarily everyone know quite a fair bit about IEEE because we are such a big organization. So I'd like to share a little bit with you in terms of our organization and what do we do and how we are being organized. So that being a member, you know that how do you fit into the organization. And then, since we're talking about grants and all those things, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the opportunities. Well, we have some grants ranging from a couple $100 and also up to over $1 million. It's not a lot of money compared to national grants, okay? It's minor compared to national grants of $100 million. And also I'll be using some Australian examples to look into that. Obviously, I'm not too familiar with the situation over in India, but I can only share from my experience and from my side. So some of this information talking about the general information and elements, it has already been so well covered and explained in details by Professor Rakesh and also by Professor Singh. So I'm not going to spend too much on this one. So these are just very general. And because every application will be some unique points, and in particular, looking at the objective of the funds and the mission of the organization. So you really have to look into that carefully. I only looking at it, from the student's point of view, if you're undergraduate and also postgraduate students, in particular, I know that you have a student branch in your university. So they might be interested in participate some of the IEEE initiatives. Well, as I said, may not be too much money, maybe a couple $100, maybe up to 1,000 or so. But the most important part is the experience you'll be able to gain from being involved with this project. From the time that you put in your applications, from the time that if you got it approved, you can execute it, then you can write your report. And all these are very invaluable experience. And maybe if you are IEEE member yourself, and then also if you are passionate on some of the areas. Now, I must clarify that IEEE grants are not research grants. So on that basis, because when I prepared this talk, and I look at the topic given to me, just simply talking about, grant application. So I look, and then I know that initially, there is supposed to be another speaker. So I just making the assumption that our speaker will talk about more on research grant. Because when we talk about research grant, a lot of time we're referring to the national grants and also some of the international grant as well. So my talk is not so much on this, although I will use the Australian Research Council as an example, and I highlight some of the minor points because we have so many programs under ARC, up to around $800 million they have a funding. And also, I need to clarify as a disclaimer that the presentation is based on opinions of myself, and they're not necessarily the opinions of IEEE. So the agenda is I'm going to quickly, getting to know me, so in other words, I just do a brief introduction of myself. Well, I'm doing this every time, well, partly because, well, most of you may have never heard about me before. And, but I would like to show you some of those public information whereby you should look up, well, if you are interested in a certain area of research, or maybe you want to follow or some researcher, the work they're doing. So then we talk about the general information about grant proposal. Now, this is the one that most probably I'll go very quickly because these have already been so well covered by the two speakers earlier on. Then I look into IEEE, as I said, I'll give you an introduction. If you are a member or even not a member, if you're interested, well, in IEEE, we are being the world's biggest technical professional organization. So there are a lot of opportunities, not only just in funding. Well, we have awards, well, we have all volunteering opportunities as well. And then, well, I'll take a look at some examples of this grant and project, only some, but some within the region, Asia Pacific region, where we both, you and I are resided in, and some others bigger one across, well, the globe from the headquarters, as I have been involved with some of these, which I've mentioned shortly. And then I just some final words and summarize, well, the whole presentation. In terms of getting to know me, well, you can quickly, well, Google my information, because in this day and age, well, with the digital footprint, I would say that most of the people, you can find some information, unless the person will already try to hide quite a fair bit of his own personal information. But nevertheless, well, especially if you are an academic, if you're publishing paper, then well, your names will be somewhere on the internet, well, in the papers. Your affiliation will be in there. And also some other third party may track you with all the paper you publish, and then well, they maybe even try to link you up. And of course, on top of that, you might have your own social media footprint as well. So the easiest thing is you can take a look at my personal, well, website, well, which is a standardized format or template under the university website. You just simply search Murdoch profile Lance Fung, then you will see this page that gives my name, also some of the areas, and then you can click on any of those icons, and it will open up and give you more detailed information. Well, I'm located in Perth, the western part of Australia. And as you can see that, well, we are really quite far away, well, from the other side of Australia. Most of the people are mainly aware of Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, maybe Brisbane. And well, we are really quite far away from there. If I have to drive over to that side, it takes me between, well, 4 to 5 days before I can go to Sydney. And well, coming to India, actually, we are closer, well, than the East Coast. So when I fly to the East Coast, it may take me around 4 or 5 hours. So you can imagine it's much faster for me to come over to India. And I know that, well, your campus should be somewhere in the northern part, in here, middle part. And looking at it, well, I think you must have a good glimpse of the Himalayas lately because of the COVID-19. And then, well, you have a very clear air. As I've seen some of the photos on Facebook. And then, well, Murdoch University is one of the 4 public universities in Western Australia. Well, we have, within the state, we have around 2.4 million people. Within the metropolitan area, we get around 2 million people with 4 universities. And we are the second, well, longest established university in Western Australia. The oldest one is Western Australia. It's over 100 years history. The other 2 are Curtin University and Edith Cowan University. We have one private university, the Notre Dame, which is affiliated to the Notre Dame University in USA. My personal background, well, I started off my technical training close to 50 years ago now, 1972, when I started my course in Marine Radio and Electronics Officer. I always treasure this particular photo because you show the equipment where we used at that time. Well, this was my first duty on the ship. That where we have the transmitter receivers, and then we use Morse code. And then I always marvel, just within less than 40, 50 years, we have mobile phone, satellite phone. It does not matter on any part of the world, you're able to communicate. But during that time, when I first got on board and working on the ship, we have to rely on Morse code. And then you just imagine how slow it used to be. And then I have 1 year over in the UK, in Bristol. And then I did my undergraduate in Wales, and then I do my PhD in the University of Western Australia. Before that, I taught in Singapore. I was in Singapore Polytechnic. When I came to Perth, I taught in Curtin University, and then I do my part-time PhD in UWA. I joined Murdoch University in 2003, and officially I retired in 2015. But since that time, I have received an emeritus appointment. So it means it's an honorary lifetime appointment. And I still continue with my supervision and a small degree of research. Mainly I'm working with students. But when I was, in my official role, apart from my teaching and also research, I have also been involved in the administration and management role, mainly in the research area. I was a research director, the dean, and also I manage a research center as well. In IEEE, for these years, I've been involved as the Educational Activities Committee as a chair. And before that, I also involved quite heavily with the Conference Quality Committee and also with the New Initiatives Committee. And this is the one that I'm using some examples. Here, this is the committee whereby we have the program. We have a budget of around $3 million annually. It's not a lot, compared to other bigger government agency. But within the IEEE itself, we're talking about 1% of our overall budget. And we fund some budget, we range for, under 40,000, maybe go up to over $1 million or so. So you see some examples. So you can see that a lot of the projects, development of new technology, has been supported by the New Initiative Committees, for many years. I've also been involved in the Technical Society, which is the sister man in Cybernetics. I was the member at large on the Board of Governors, for 6 years as well. And within the regions, chapters, I've also been serving, all the way from the chapter society section and all the way to the council. You can also see my list of publications. The last time I checked it is 333 being collected, in the university the repository. And from there, you can see, the collection under journals, conference proceedings, and book chapters, etc. And some of these, they might be available in a full copy. As a matter of fact, I should have more than 330 because of some of the earlier papers. They were not in the electronic format; they were in the paper format. I'm more honored and humbled with the opportunity in supervising to completion around 31 PhD students. I still have a few on the way to completion either this year and next year. And I also have a student from different parts of the world, a lot of them from Thailand, from Singapore, Malaysia, China, even Middle East as well, from Iran, Iraq, Libya, etc. All those theses, you can download the complete PDF format, of the whole thesis. So you can see the whole range of areas I've covered in the past. In terms of the public information, now why I mention this, because when you talk about grant application, one of the things that people look at is your standing, how well they can trust you in terms of your research performance. So there are outside in the public, I just call a few. This one is a Google Scholar. So Google Scholar, you just type my name, use a Chan Chi Fang, and then you'll see the list of papers. And then you can, depending how you sort it, according to the years or according to the citation. I'm really honored and I'm privileged to work my lay supervisor during my PhD level. And this paper has been the most cited. And it was published in 1993, but that was one of the chapters within my PhD thesis. And it's cited around 500 times. My overall citation is around 3,588. And H-index 27. What it means is, I have 27 out of all my papers have been cited at least 27 times. So you can work it out. So if someone get a high H-index, so this is really a square. So that means that I have, if I have 28, that means that I need at least 28 papers. Each one of them has been cited over 28 times. And then there's another one called R10. So that means the number of paper being cited 10 times. So in here, it tells me I got 81 papers in this category. And more interestingly, I'm always amused by the fact that I retired in 2015 and my citation is still growing over the years. And then even this year now, I might be able to hit halfway compared to the year before. And I'm also quite interested to look at this paper, Simulated Annealing Bayesian Economic Dispatch Algorithm. It was published in 1993. And then when I look at that paper again, I find out that it still has been cited So this paper was published in 1993. And the last time it was cited is only 21 days ago. Well, I think this one I just do a screen capture the day before. So I'm really pleasantly, amused and honored to find that this paper published in 1993 and still being cited 21 days ago, 53 days ago, and 63 days ago. And we were one of the pioneers with some of these techniques at that time. So that's why most of these, when they do the literature review, they always pull out this paper. Some others, when you can also take a look at somebody's background and the performance from the ResearchGate. And then this is under the research score. I didn't do too much in the other part, so that's why majority of my breakdown is just simply based on my publication. Others, you can also have the DBLP, Computer Science Bibliography, so you can see also some of the papers from there. IEEE Explore, another one. In here is collect 126 papers. And also Scopus, because I know the Scopus, now people looking at it as a de facto. So in here, it quoted me, I have 199 papers. Okay. Okay, now let's take a look after I finish this part, because I may come back to mention some of these outside information, why it's important when you go into grant application. Maybe we start off by looking at the differentiation between a grant applications and a proposal. So you will see that I have some of these points put down. What does it mean by that? Now, I assume that most of you have the opportunity to write papers. So, maybe part of the requirements in your PhD study, and also if you're academic, you're expected to publish a number of papers per year.
Sushant had stopped speaking to people since last 1 month. No, those people were just milkman, watchman, all those people. His friends didn't reach out.
Whoever is speaking, do you mind to mute your mic? Okay, so we have to, first of all, have the mindset to understand what are the basic differentiation between, research papers and the proposal. Of course, when you write a grant proposal, the objective is you want your grant to be approved. When you write a research paper, you would like your paper being published. So it seems that it's quite similar. I would say that there are quite a fair bit of a major difference. I can tell you writing a grant proposal is much harder than writing a paper. First of all, in terms of the paper, you have already done some work. You should have the solid results. Methodology experiment you have completed.
Bipolar moods, sometimes extremely happy,
panic attacks. Sometimes they have panic attacks also. Yes.
I wonder, can you mute all the mics?
Sirisha madam, can you mute your audio? Sirisha madam. Sirisha Praveen, mute your audio.
Depression, something that is very hard at one life.
Maybe this.
Okay.
Just trigger for something to do in the past.
Yes, yes.
Whoever it is, everyone is listening to your conversation. Thank you very much. Okay, let's come back to this part in terms of the differentiation of research papers and the proposal. Well, the difference is, when you write a proposal, you are trying to convince someone or the reader that you're going to do something, that you're able to deliver it. So really, it takes quite a fair bit of convincing, isn't it? Because, how am I going to trust you, giving you thousands and thousands of dollars, and then you're going to do what you promised to do, okay? And then, but paper is different. The paper in the sense that, okay, I only examine, your content, examine that this is really valid, and I take the assumption that you are ethical, all the correct data.
Host, can you terminate that ID Sirisha Praveen.
Start budding, I think.
Okay, thank you. There are quite a number of the people, their mic is not yet milk. Okay, so may I request of you milk your mic? Thank you. Okay, coming back to another one. So your grant proposal, well, one of the major things is you're really asking for money. Now, apart from you writing a research grant, well, sometimes, well, the research proposal could be different because you can write a research proposal, have absolutely no request for money. Example is, well, when you apply for admission, well, to do a PhD study, you are writing a research proposal. Well, when you are in a PhD study, you're writing, well, for a candidature. Well, that is again another research proposal. Well, very unlikely you do require money upfront. Although sometimes student may have to make the request, well, clarify that any particular special equipment they need to use. But that is not the main decision, because that will be up to the university to decide whether we can take on the student, or do we have the support for that. But when you're writing a grant, well, you are expecting, well, some organization give you the money, give you the resources to do something that, well, they trust that you're able to deliver, and then you are going to bring some impact and significance, well, based on your work. So this is the difficult part. Another major difference is, well, I can generally say that, well, having a paper accepted, in general, the acceptance rate, depending on the venue, well, where you submit. If you submit to some conferences, I would say that the chances of having it, well, accepted, well, normally is pretty high, depending, well, how good, well, you are able to match your work, and also, well, you write it properly. Then maybe most probably, well, if a conference, well, it's not unusual, you can have 50% chance of being accepted, except some of the very high top tier conferences, maybe lower. But on the other hand, it's not unusual having the grant application that you might, well, be as low as around 10%, 7%, 8%. Well, in ARC, well, we're looking at roughly maybe around 20%. Well, but some of them may go down to around 11% or so. So you can see that the chances of success, well, normally in grants are much, much lower as compared to having a paper. Another one is having a paper, you got to prepare, well, this material, well, once it's published, it's going to be publicly assessed, and then, well, everyone can look at that. So what it means is, well, if you have done something wrong in this paper, well, one day this could catch up on you. That we have seen examples in the past where we have papers in IEEE being explored, being extracted. We even see some cases in Germany that, well, the Minister of Education, well, have to resign because final some PhD thesis. And even, well, one of the chancellor also have to resign of a similar problem as well. That was a few years back already. But on the other hand, the grant application, well, the document belongs, well, to the owner, the writer, the proposer. It's quite rarely they are being made public. So that's why just now in the chat box where somebody requested a question, can we see some examples? What I can tell you is, yes, I can show you some examples, well, from IEEE New Initiatives Committee. They'll come a little bit later. Another important point in grant application is time critical, because that will have a factor, well, on your preparation. It means that you really have to meet the deadline. Okay, sometimes you may expect a conference that they may extend, well, the acceptance deadline. It's not unusual nowadays. Well, sometimes because they want more papers, they extend for 1 week or 2 weeks. Sometimes some of the journals, well, they don't even have any deadline, but you can, well, submit it all throughout the whole year, except unless they have some special issues, then they have some deadline. So there's a difference of that. On the other hand is, well, having a grant application, your track record matters. So what it means is, well, as I have said earlier on, well, you try to convince the decision makers, well, in the committee to give you the money, or to trust you. Well, you better make sure you have, well, enough track record to demonstrate you're able to do it. Now, of course, it will depend very much on the size of the grant. If you're looking for a small amount, well, let's say, for example, IEEE, well, a couple $100, quite unlikely we're looking at that much, although it'll help a lot. But then if you're looking at really major big grants, whereby you have a big team of people, then it's not unusual. They really look into detail so that, well, they see that a track record, well, of those people. On the other hand, looking at a paper, well, not many people, well, we're really looking at your past paper, unless they want to see what other work you have done. It's not so much, well, on the paper acceptance, it's entirely based on a track record. the author. Sometimes you may have a role to play because they may see that are you already continuing some kind of work, so maybe they take into account. But otherwise, so that is not the major criteria. So these are some of the major differences between research papers and a grant proposal. Then what are grants? Well, strictly speaking, grant is just a gift on conveyance of funds with with conditions attached. Normally there's some expectation as well because there's some objectives of the organization or agency that they would like this grant to be used for certain purpose. So and also there will be a lot of guidelines that you need to follow. But apart from that, well, that's stopped from at that point, because once they have given you the money, then really to a certain extent, you do have your control of that, although you still need to follow the requirements. So there's maybe some legal implication if you do not use it according to the requirements. Another major difference is competitive. As I mentioned earlier on, having a grant being accepted and approved actually is quite an achievement, because if it's a competitive grant, that means that they should open to everyone. It's just some reviewers or panels of reviewers to evaluate your grants, and the funding will be based on the merits of your application. It all depends on how well you prepared, you write it, and also how well you convince the grant committee that you are able to deliver it. So I highlight another one is don't confuse with tender or a contract. Now in the academic world, sometimes we do receive a contract. Well, we have organization try to come to us and ask us to deliver some work for them. So that a lot of times there will be some form of contract in there. It's no difference compared to commercial contract where you supply your office services and also the products. But the main difference is, having a contract like that, normally you go with some kind of legal liability if you're not able to deliver. Whereas in a grant itself, very unlikely you will have a penalty if your grant is not able to deliver what you claim to be. Because we all know that research, sometimes things change and development, a lot of delay and all those things as well. It's understandable. The only implication for you is, if you are not able to deliver what you promised, so that means your track record is going to be in Tata. So that means the people, when you apply again to look at the names, they say that, no, I get a couple $100,000, didn't deliver what we asked for. So you will have a very adverse effect on your next application. So having a tender contract is very different because, the tendering a contract is a common legal process of bigger projects in which a business offers to supply goods, perform a job, or buy another business. So it's a business transaction. So a lot of time in our university, if we are doing contracts, a lot of time we consider as a consultancy work. We have to engage our legal department with the university. They have to go through the contract because they don't want the university or even myself to be liable to any damages or penalty. So we're going to make sure that every clause is clear. So before you start your grant application, this point has been mentioned, by previous speaker over and over again. You must know the organization. What is the purpose of the grant? That normally, people put the money out because they want something to be achieved for the community. And maybe to do some kind of impact on the community. You need to know the audience. In here, I refer to the audience are the one in the committee. So you may try to find out exactly what they're looking for. And sometimes you may even dig up a little bit of their background as well. You have to define your problem. So this is very important. You try to specify. Again, I heard Professor Rakesh earlier on, the title is very important. I mean, just like a paper, just like a thesis, the title is the first thing that people come across. So you must be able to provide the essence of all the work, in your title. And then the next thing you go into the abstract, or maybe, if you have a grant, or maybe an executive summary, or maybe some keywords as well. So the main thing is, what are you trying to achieve? What is the problem you're trying to address? Well, you may need to do some background work. So what has been done so far? Now, to a certain extent, it's no difference compared to writing a paper. When you write a research paper, you need to do the literature review. You need to know what is the state of the art, the current methodology people are using, and then what are the solutions available. So you need to know. So because if you are going to adopt some of those methodology or solutions or technology, then you need to demonstrate you understand those approach as well. So you have to propose a solution to address the problem. Now, bear in mind, you haven't done it. You don't have a solution yet, okay? But you're proposing, say that I'm doing this so that I can have a solution to this problem. That's what you're trying to do in a grant application. But more importantly, well, you need to highlight what are the effects and the impact or significance of your project. This is the one that get the committee's attention. Because in a way that, well, the committee is not that interested in what is the process you have involved because they're looking for results. Now, unlike a technical paper, a lot of time when we read a research paper, we are also interested in the methodology, how the guy did the work, so that we learn, well, from the authors, well, what are the experience, well, and then maybe we can compare our results to their results. So this is a lot of time when we deal with the technical research academic papers. In a grant, the situation not that much. Where they're more interested is, well, is the problem worth looking into? Is it worth I give you the money so that you come up with some kind of solution to that? Well, is your solution, well, feasible? Are you able to deliver it? And is your solution is able to bring a long-term impact to the community? And that is a lot of time, that's what they're looking at. And also you need to have the realistic timeline. Of course, just like any project development, well, one of the major problems is, well, the project are overrun in times and also overspend the budget. And you don't really want to encounter that. This is the same thing to talk about the resources as well. When we talk about resources, we refer to the financial resources and also equipment and also the human resources. So when you have the project proposal, you need to really have the information, like who are you, so that in particular, if you have some track record, then people know that okay, this particular team. When I was running a research center, then people know that okay, the research center have done some work before. What is the title? Again, has already been mentioned. The title is very important. The summary of your work, time frame. Okay, overall time frame: 2 years, 3 years, 1 year. Who are the project leaders? Okay, who are the champions? Who are the team members? Who is the one you should contact and taking the responsibility? And on the summary, it really answers all these common questions. It's no difference compared to writing a papers or writing a thesis while working on the assignment. Understand why you want to work on this particular problem. What are you going to do? How are you going to address the problem? Who are the ones involved with this? Well, where is this project is going to be taken place? So in IEEE, well, we have some project with the humanitarians, technology project. Well, we expect the project is going to work with the local community. So not unusual, the proposer have to propose, I'm going to work with this rural area in this state, and then I need some money to fly to another state, another village. So those are the things, you need to describe. How long, the time frame, how much money, the resources. So all this is a common question. You need to give provide a background of the problem. You need to clarify, it's really the same thing as we have said before. You need to define it, you need to, describe it. And why this proposal? So this is the one that, you specify the problem, you narrow it down, then you need to explain why this one you think is feasible and why this particular proposal is going to work for that problem. It will help if you're able to provide some kind of statistic. You can provide a statistic in highlighting the problem. How many hundreds people living in this village? They don't have lights, they don't have water, they don't have electricity. Therefore, I'm coming up with some kind of renewable energy sources, using the windmill, using the solar panels, so that provide the generators, provide the pumps, so to pump up the clean water and all those things. So with the data, then the people can have a grasp of the potential impact you're able to bring. Must be concise. You will see it's not unusual. Sometimes the application will limit the number of words you have. So, in IEEE, you can see the examples I will show you very shortly. So you limit 100 words for the summary, 600 words for the description, etc., etc. So then you get an overall summary. Well, describe what is the goals you try to achieve. And then the methodology, exactly what you're trying to do. What is the plan? Well, how are you going to make use of the money and also the resources? And then the cost of action. And then you need to have sufficient background research. Well, the main thing is, it's not that just because you just tell them you want to do something. but you need to justify why, the choice of your methods, your technique is the most optimal. So you need to describe a summary of the overall approach, task breakdown, time estimates. It's no different, just like building a house. So you have all the stages involved. You need to do the groundwork, you need to lay the cement, you need to do the bricks, you need to do the pillars, you need to do the roof, and then you need to do just step by step. So you must be able to think and plan well ahead of time, before you even start. And then you need to provide the deliverables. In other words, exactly what you're trying to do. If you are going to work on a remote village whereby you want to provide light and clean water to them, you have to explain, okay, well, I'm going to set up the solar panel, the windmill, I have to get the equipment. You need to consider, the other issues, the maintenance and all those things. So those are specific deliverables. If you're working on software, maybe you want to develop a platform. If you want to assess, the result, you need to conduct a survey. You need to explain what are the tools I'm going to use for my survey, how many people I'm targeting, what are my research tools I'm going to use. And also very important is a metrics for measure of success. Now, no doubt that when you claim that the problem, you claim that you're going to have certain solution, you claim that you have certain tasks and plans to solve the problem, you claim that you're going to use a certain amount of money, and then you claim that you're going to give certain deliverable. But at the end of the day, how do I know that you're able to achieve all these? So you don't really expect the grant committee to decide that for you. You yourself surrender it upfront. You tell them, okay, if I'm going to develop a platform on a computer, on the web, then I expect so many people using it. Then your metric is, I expect so many users, how many registration. So if I run this webinar, so if I have my target of 200 delegates will register, then more than 200, then I have succeeded my proposal. Another one is maybe also need to take into account. Now, also bear in mind that not necessarily all these sections are essential for all the grant application. It all depends how complex, how much money involved, etc. You will see later on in some of the IEEE, we're talking about a couple $100, we may not bother with all these things. But otherwise, if you want to be more substantial, then we will look into issues like the risk management. So what does it mean? What it means is, you yourself, even though that you have spelled out all those points you have mentioned earlier on, you also try to foresee what are the possible problems you will have, so that you try to, work out some kind of action to take, if that happens. We always know that, in computer science, we always know something in Murphy's Law, okay, whatever, the worst thing happen, it will happen, okay? So you try to, of course, we cannot guarantee it. 2 years ago, no one can guarantee, no one can foresee the COVID-19, although, there has been some warning. People have been talking about, even Bill Gates mentioned that as well. Okay, even films, even movies, they talk about this type of a pandemic. Even there was a movie called Pandemic, okay? But then again, it all depends on how well the government were taking responsibility and also steps of that. Same thing applied to your project proposal. Are you able to demonstrate that you have a very thorough planning that even take into account of the potential problems you may encounter? So if that is going to happen, what will be your plan? What is your contingency plan? Okay, a good example is looking back to a 911 situation whereby you have the Twin Tower being collapsed. One of the main problems is, the computer's point of view, where are the data being stored? The data center. Are they able to store somewhere off-site so that even your main office, that one disappear or being burned down, you are able to have a backup on that. So now there's the same thing. On security, you worry somebody hack into your system. So are you able to have some kind of backup? So those are the similar issues you have to take into account. Then you can set up some kind of risk registry. So you can list down, of course, you don't want that to happen. But then again, when that happens, you are prepared. That's the main thing. So you know what are the list of the potential risks. Now, no one can blame you that you are not able to foresee every risk, but at least you demonstrate you have taken that as much as possible into account. Budget is very important. Again, the earlier speakers have mentioned this a few times already. So you must bear in mind that, depending on the funding agent, in IEEE, we see our money are from the members because we are a member organization. We don't get the money from the government. So even the money from the government is not from the government. The money from the government is from the people, from the citizens, from the taxes they collected. So it's a people's money. So in other words, well, as a funding agent, well, we do have the responsibility, well, to use the money, well, responsibly. And similarly, we would expect the grant proposer and whoever undertake the project should make use of the monies accordingly and also use it as it's supposed to do. So you should have some kind of detailed line item. Again, when you will see the IEEE format, well, you will see some examples how this is being done. And also it is important to provide some kind of commentary. Well, you want to ask for a very expensive equipment. And why is it you want that equipment? Because I want to measure a certain measurement down to nanometers, very precise measurement. If you want to travel, you need to justify why you want to travel. I have mentioned earlier on, well, if I run a project in the countryside, I need the transport and all those things. Financial statement, and also take into account of the potential revenue. Now, again, this one may not be essential for grants, but sometimes if the grant is major, they may want to see the grant carry on even with the fundings are finished. So this is the one we talk about a term called sustainability. So if the research grant, now not so much on the pure basic research from academic point of view, I'm talking about, well, from some funding, maybe they want to have some community project. I mentioned things like providing water and electricity, well, to a village. So that means that after I give you a couple of $1,000 grant, I expect, well, the money finish, well, that machine is going to remain there. Then you have to take into account the question, what happens if you got any breakdown? Who is going to do the maintenance? So you must be able to demonstrate, well, those are being taken into account, well, maybe with some revenue income. So if I'm providing electricity, well, they still need to pay a certain amount of money, well, for the getting the electricity. They're having a meter. So this small amount of money can be put aside, can be used for replacement of the repair of the machine, etc. Tax is another one. Again, depending on the country, well, sometimes, well, if we are talking about international grants, well, different countries, they may have different tax requirements. Sometimes the organization, like the university, they also require overhead as well. Those are the things need to take into account. Maybe some other additional funding source. What it means is you do not, well, just try to rely on the fundings on a single source. If you are able to demonstrate, well, your project, especially if it is large, then you're able to get money from multiple sources in a way that it gives you a lot of positive points. Because, well, the committee members will look at it, well, this particular project must be worth, well, support because it has already got support from the other organization. So this will help a lot. So, but we be very, very careful. Look at all the guidelines, looking at all the policy, regulations, requirements. In particular, the items that will not be funded. So don't ask for items that will not be funded. If you have to use those items, that's fine. But you have to demonstrate where are you going to get the funding to support those items. I've already mentioned about deliverables and metrics. So they must be clearly quantifiable, well, deliverables. And then the metrics, well, what are you going to use to measure the success and the impacts of it? Now, I know some of these are quite intangible, but there are a lot of work we're looking into try to quantify those intangible, well, measurement as well. I think the social benefit is one that's going on right now because of the UN, the Sustainable Development Goal, and also some other work's been looking at how to quantify those. I have been involved with an IEEE some committee. We're looking at that. Now, of course, well, you may need, if it's a long project, a couple of years, you may also, well, provide some kind of a milestone, depending on the funding agency. Sometimes the funding agency may put it up front. You must provide a yearly report, half-yearly report. But even if that is not there, you volunteer yourself, because when you break down the task, you break down with a timeline, you know that after 6 months, and then I'm going to provide a report, well, where we are. Sustainability, I have already mentioned that. Well, one of the questions I always ask, well, how is the project going to carry on after the money has exhausted? So you may provide some additional information, okay? Especially if it's academic work, maybe you want to take a look at the references and the past record. But if you have past record involving in previous contracts and grant and all those things, it will help you a lot because you demonstrate that you have the prior experience. And then, well, the references of past record, I've already mentioned that. Now, that more or less cover all the basic things we talk about the grants. Now let me go into the IEEE in case you're not aware of it. Even if you have been an IEEE members, well, you may not see all this terminology and the board. I just try to give you a quick overview, and then I lead on to some of the program whereby you have the funding opportunities. Well, I'm really proud to say that IEEE is the world's largest technical professional organization dedicated to the advancing technology for the benefits of humanity. Well, as the term implies, electrical and electronic engineers, so we are more inclined to those related to field disciplines. But of course, well, implicitly, it also includes things like computer, well, information technology, and also we open up like biomedicals, well, control, well, even engineering, well, mathematics, management. Also, we have education. We have education society. Although we're interested in the education related to this IEEE main field of interest. We have 16 main field of interest, and you can take a look at IEEE the website to take a look what are they. So we are a difference compared to others. So we don't really specifically, we have social science, but then again, we have some societies like the SMC I have. Well, we have some technical society, they're looking into applying some, field of interest from IEEE, things like computational intelligence applied to social science. Okay, we have that. And also nowadays, well, in COVID-19 is again another example. A lot of the techniques, methodology, we traditionally in IEEE has been applied to the COVID-19 situation. They're looking at analyze all the cases, helping out to do the analysis, well, of the vaccine and all those things. Okay, some of the quick facts. Again, I'm not going to bore you because all these are readily available on IEEE website. Well, this is the number of members at the end of last year. Okay, we are over 400,000 worldwide, 160 countries. And then 50% of those are outside of USA. Because, well, IEEE traditionally was started from USA. Well, as a matter of fact, if you look into the old history, when I visited the IEEE History Center, I have seen, well, the membership of Edison. I've seen the membership of Bell. Okay, well, Bell is one starting the telephone system. So you'll be really amazed, well, that we have a lot of pioneers in technology. It has been the members of IEEE right from the very beginning. So we have a large number of student members, in particular in India. Well, you do have the largest number of student members as a country. IEEE is divided into 10 regions. I will show you another slide shortly. Altogether, we have 342 sections. Okay, well, for each member, they are being assigned to a section according to the resident where they're staying. Then we have a technical chapters according to the technical societies. And then we have a 39 technical societies subdivided into 10 divisions. Then we get student branches. So this is one you have in a TMU. We have technical chapters within the student branches as well. And then we have affinity groups. And we have the councils. We have the, in addition to sections like the women in engineering. Again, women in engineering is quite strong in India. Young professionals, those are the ones that graduated in the past 15 years. And the life members are those that they have been a member, and the age to add up together is over 100. But the minimum age is 65. I'm looking forward to my life member shortly in a few years, and also the entrepreneurship. So 39 technical society, as I have mentioned earlier on. I'm not going through all these because you can see it from IEEE website. Well, I would say that this is the major asset of IEEE. On one hand, I say IEEE is a member organization because we make up of members, over 400,000. But we also, our asset is not in the building, no, not in the money we have, but rather is in the knowledge. Where are the knowledge? The knowledge are being stored in the Explore. And they are being contributed by the members and non-members. Well, when they go through the conferences, they submit to the journals, transaction. This is where our asset have. We have the Explore digital library, and every month around 8 million download. Well, depending, either you can get the download of those papers either through this membership or maybe through the university. But a lot of people, they pay the download by per paper basis. Okay, it's $30 something per paper. So we need to really maintain the standard of our papers. Altogether, conference proceedings in the IEEE Explore because well, roughly last year we were around 1,900 conferences being held. And then we get a standard. Standard is important. Standard is the one that provide, well, some common agreement for the industry to follow, so that everyone, doesn't matter what brand you're using. A good example, like the Wi-Fi you're using, like the USB you're using, but all these are coming out from the standards, and IEEE have a major part to play in proposing a lot of standards being used, well, in the industry today. Then we mentioned about the publications in terms of journal transactions, conference proceedings, and then also we partnership with a lot of the local entity as well. So I see that one of the will be your Indian Computer Society as well. So we have conferences with that. Well, our conference attendees are over 500,000 people last year. And then we talk about conference proceedings already. Talking about the geographic location. So we have 10 regions, as you can see on the right-hand side. Region 10 is the Asia Pacific region. In here, we have around 59 sections, and you can see that we contribute more or less 1/3 of the membership of the whole IEEE. The next one is the Europe, region 8, which is the Europe, Africa, and Middle East. And then in there, you can see that around 18%, they are the one, well, region 8 and region 10 are the ones still growing quite strongly. And also you can see the diverse of the countries you have within these two regions. Region 9 is Latin America and also the South America. So including most of this, all these South African countries and also Mexico and the Caribbean countries as well. Region 1 to 6, well, is closed is the biggest number of members as a single country, which is USA. Okay, so you can see 41% of members are there. And also in region 7 is Canada. There's around 16,000 members in there. So this is the Asia Pacific region. Well, apart from the sections, well, those sections in the countries, they may also make up a council. So you have the China Council, well, make up a number of the sections in here. You have Korean Council, Japan Council, New Zealand Council, Australian Council. We have Australian Capital Territory, New South Wales, North Australia, Queensland, South Australia, Victoria, and I myself belong to the Australian section. And then you got the Indian Council, and then you have 12 Indian sections as well. So if you go to the website, again, you can find out the details about the Indian section. And then the latest one, although in here, you said 11 sections, but strictly speaking, you got 12 now, because early this year, WCAG Day has been added. So you can find out, well, the list of the contacts and also the website and also who are the current chairperson within India. So I think you should belong to UP, okay? Last time, the UP chair, Professor S.N. Singh, right now actually he's the chairperson of the Indian Council. So in terms of organization of IEEE, so as I have said, it's a member organization. So this is where the 400,000 members, and then we select, we vote, well, we elect the board of directors. So the board of directors make up of the 10 regional directors. So as I have seen, you have seen from the earlier slide, okay, region 1 to region 10. So within a section, so, and then you may make up your council, you belong to the region, and the region you belong to the MGA, stand for Members and Geographic Activities Board. And then you also the technical society. And if you recall, I mentioned 39 technical society, and then they made up of 10 divisions. So it's really one-to-one basis. Well, 10 region, 10 divisions. So they make up of the technical society and technical councils as well. There's some other additional boards, the publication services and the product board, educational activities board. This is the one, again, I'm involved with because I'm the educational activities committee chair. The SAE Standard Association, this is the one I mentioned. They produce the standard being used in the industry. And then you have the USA board. That one is a combination of all these 6 regions within USA. And then you have the executive director. So this made up 32 members on the board of directors within IEEE. And I also have the honors to be involved with the development of this strategic plan last year. And then you can see that our focus is looking at educational services and resources to support lifelong learning and things like collaboration, sharing of knowledge, public understanding of engineering and technology, career and professional development, building communities, etc. Again, all these are public information. So now come to the next part now. You go back related to the topic we're talking about the grant proposals and the application. So what I can say is, well, IEEE, apart from providing the resources, education, the career, well, we have two main areas. Well, one is provide support. Well, there are different committees. Well, they lead, they provide money, well, to have individual projects. And also another area is awards. So you can see across IEEE, well, I myself in my community, well, I give out 2 outstanding awards every year as well. So those are the ones to recognize the contribution of the volunteers and the members. So coming back just for the grants itself. So IEEE, we have the funding sources within the organization to support projects that range maybe a couple $100. Again, I'll show you some examples. To thousands, tens, or hundreds of thousands, maybe even over $1 million. This is the one, the NIC I've been involved with. And then there's some examples. In Region 10 committee, I'm just looking at 2 examples only. Well, my committee is the Educational Activities Committee and the Student Activities Committee. You can look at others, well, maybe like Indian Council, you also have some of those projects. I'm looking at SITE and the NIC. Well, this is the one that I'm going to show some example. I can tell this in depth because I have been on this committee for 6 years and I was a chairperson last year, and this year I'm the past chair. I have not been too involved with the humanitarians committee, but this is a special interest group. But well, we do support that. Actually, I'm involved in the committee, overseeing the review of that committee. So very quickly, take a look. Then I can show you what are the criteria as an example, well, how we decide on the grants. So our committee, our objective is to encourage the creative and new innovative program to provide the values to the members, alignment with the strategic plan, in particular lifelong learning. I would like to wear the awareness and the profile of IEEE, well, among the community. And I also like, well, the community to use the resources as well, in particular from EAB. If you can recall, EAB is one of the 6 major boards within IEEE. And also to encourage the collaboration. So this was my, I call it a challenge. So the money given out, maybe not a lot, okay? $500 for the top winners, and then $300 for the runner-up, and also give a small amount of money for the 150. Now, a lot of time when the proposal comes in, well, this amount obviously may not be sufficient. Quite rarely, they just simply based on this law. So we would also like to see, are they able to get additional fundings from the government, etc. So this fulfill, well, one of the part I mentioned earlier on. If you can demonstrate you have alternative additional funding sources, it will help you with your project. So you don't rely just simply on the money we provide. So these are the evaluation criteria. I will look at the description of the project. Well, is it meeting the educational outcomes? But because this is the objective of our committee. Does it align with the IEEE strategic plan? You can see some of those highlighted early on as a goal. Is it scalable? Is it sustainable? What are the metrics being used? What is the measurement of its success and how you assess the impact of it? And demonstrate the use and the promotion of the resources. And also I expect to see the collaboration. So you can see that all these will fulfill back to the objective of my committee. So the money I'm giving out, I'm inviting the project proposals comes in. So that hopefully they're able to meet this requirement. So these are the examples for this year's winners. We got one from Hong Kong section. They're looking at some kind of proposals. So to diversify the learners in Hong Kong and IEEE try engineering. So, and then another one from Malaya student branch. They're talking about the smart hybrid solar energy harvesting storage system design challenge. And then for the pre-university category, the runners up, well, this is one from India, $300. Another one from Malaysia again, well, another $300 for the simulation competition. And then I also give out another egg proposed egg project as well. So effectively, you do see that I got a small amount of money, but then again, well, we try to cover as many projects as possible. In terms of the IEEE Region 10 Student Activities Committee, this is one of the reason core for the proposal. This one addressed the COVID-19. So what they're looking for is, well, they do realize the problem of the COVID-19. So the purpose of it is provide funding. So as an idea, try to solve or assist the communities through this problem. Say, for example, using 3D printing for the PPE, personal protective equipment, etc. So many these items so that they can be submitted by the student branches, because this one is from Student Activities Committee. So in other words, it's entirely related to the student community. And then it must be endorsed by the sections. And then do not allow provide funding for multiple projects. It's only one. And then, well, a total of 5 projects. So they got a budget of $2,000 in here. So, and then they have the timeline and all those things. As I mentioned, it's very important. You must submit it before the timeline. And then, well, how are they going to claim the money? Normally, the money is not just given as a reward award. It's not really winning a lottery ticket, not like that. The money normally we just use it. Well, you can claim for reimbursement for the expenses. So you have to provide your report, you have to provide your financial reports, and also the receipt. And then from there, IEEE will do the transfer the money back to the section. That's how we do it. So these examples of the forms from the SAC, you see that all the information that I mentioned earlier on, the details of the submitter, okay, who are they, the name, well, affiliation with the unit, whatever student branch you are, membership number, position, your role you're playing, and who are other members in here. As you can see in here, we expect to see the executive summary of the. You see the description of the activities, exactly what you're trying to do. What are the potential impact you see that with your proposal as well. And then we mentioned about the work plan and the milestones. So all these terms you have seen, I've described it early on. And then how to do you implement it for the team. You need to get an endorsement, and also you need to highlight how much money you expect. So if you want to working on bigger project, I'm using 3 examples in here, although there are some others as well. Excuse me. We got a site, we got a foundation. Although the foundation this year does not give out any funding. Again, I explain why. And I'm using in particular the next, and it is the next, I will go a little bit more detail. You will see some form, and I will also point you to some location. You can download some of the past application form as well. SITE stands for Special Interest Group on Humanitarian Technology. So they have the 2020 call for the proposal. As you can see, this is the description, what they're looking for. The project funding is to support the new humanitarian technology sustainable development projects. So it must be localized to replicate proven site projects. So they expect the delivery is not a research project. They want it to be an actual equipment. They have a tangible support to the local community. You need to put the technological skills learned in the classroom workplace into practice, gaining the valuable hand-on experience. So you can see that yes, we don't just want to talk and publish another paper. The main thing is we want to see something is being done. You should also be able to partner with the local government or NGO, non-government organization, to develop the solution, the challenges faced by the underserved community. So it's a very clear objective. We expect the one who initiate to lead the project to work with the local people, work with the local organizations. The condition, as you can see, this one give you more money now. This one range maybe from 1,000 to 20,000 US. And then you have to work with a site group. In other words, this is not for everyone. You need to have a site group within the section, maybe a student branch, whatever it is. And also you need to align with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So you can see how it matches to that. And then, they must demonstrate consultation and a clear understanding of the needs of the target community. So you need to address the problem, why they need your proposal and your work, and demonstrate needs-driven approach to strengthen the local capacity through the technology deployment. So this is the demonstration of the use of the technology for the benefit of the community. So these are some of the application structure and proposal evaluation. So you can see that actually the application form and information are quite thorough. They explain in detail. You need to answer all the questions. Well, what are the technology development, deployment? What is the public policy you're working on? So executive summary. how does it align with the UN Sustainable Development Goals? What is the development type you're using? Is it a computer, ICT, data, energy, transportation, etc., etc.? So, has the site provided funding for this in any form in the past? Yes, please elaborate, including the project numbers. Because sometimes you might have worked on a past project, you may like to extend it, you may like to lengthen it, or maybe use another approach. So it's a good, well, it would be good that you have demonstrated that you have delivered some successful project in the past. And also maybe summary of the project history. And the OU involved, OU stand for the organizational unit. Then who are the stakeholders? Okay, again, you can see it's very detailed, asking you to answer all the questions. But what is the theory of change? So what will be the input, output? What are the activities? What are the outcomes? What are the impacts? What are the assumptions you are making in here? Are there any similar projects? So that means expect you have done some background research and look around. And what are the implementation plan? So what are the technology you're going to use? How is it relevant to the local environment? What is the work plan? What are the milestones? Well, how is it going to be sustainable? And then, well, you have download, compare, and upload the implementation team form. Now, all this information are site. You can just go to the IEEE site workshop and find out all this. So you don't need to copy down. You don't need a copy of my slide. Everything are available in there. And then about the local section. So what I'm trying to say is, well, we have quite thorough instruction. And then the question asked, you just need to follow them as well. So there is under site. It's only one part of it. Another major arms in IEEE in providing funding is called the IEEE Foundation. Well, this one is mainly aimed to help the local communities through the education and through the technology. And you can see that in different parts of the world, it has a target of reaching 30 million. And actually, the last time I download this screen capture, that they maybe around under 10% more to go. But the annual budget actually is not bad. They have over $5 million annual budget. So there are four main pillars of their projects. Illuminate, mainly this is the one to bring power to the local communities, to the villages. Educate, to provide educational programs. Engage the community in this diagram, talking about some of the history. And then also the energize, supporting it through scholarship and through the awards. This is the one from the 2019 annual report. You can see the IEEE Foundation give out the money to support the project under these four program areas. And then the budget they have raised it last year was to $5.8 million. Well, they have spent around $4.6 million. Unfortunately, this year they're not calling for any project, mainly because of the COVID-19 grants crisis. So what they have diverted the attention is to this COVID-19 response fund. So there's only used for another application. So now they come to the main one, whereby I will go even more detail. Yes, the New Initiatives Committee. As I said, I was the chairperson last year, so that's why I can really understand what I'm talking about in here. So if you are in the electrical and electronic engineering, or maybe even not, if you follow the technology, you may come across some of these terms before. Smart grids, cloud engineering, okay, cloud computing, and also some others, IEEE Learning Network. This is the one that we are rolling out late last year. IEEE TV, all these initiatives are being supported by NIC in the past. So if you want to find further information about this, IEEE have a complete website on this. You just simply search IEEE NIC, okay, on new initiative. This is what you come into. You would give it explanation, what is it all about, or the overview, application form, and all those things. And also some of the past applications, projects that have been funded, and also examples of the past application. So in IEEE, we'll define the new initiatives and new programs, service, or products. So there's significant benefit to the members, to the public, and technical community. And also they should have a lasting impacts for IEEE and the business process. And also must be strategic importance to IEEE. We do not support any ongoing operational necessities. And the project funded appropriate baseline, and also are not classified initiatives. So if we just simply ongoing salary, it's not part of it. So how do I apply for it? Obviously, you need to look in the detailed information, look in the form. So these are the examples of the forms I'm going to show you. So we have two types of grants. One is called the seed grants. Seed grants are maximum 12 months, maximum $40,000. And then another one is the formal new initiatives. Those are the ones that can go for multi-years, maximum 3 years, sometimes extension another year. And then you go up to millions. You can go up to millions. You do not need to ask for millions, okay? We have seen a couple of them, they go 100,000 or so. Bear in mind that because it's 3 years, so maybe you can make the assumption that for those really major, big projects, they may be even getting up to around $500,000 a year, 300,000-400,000 a year or so. So when you see the forms, you will see that all the sections that I have mentioned it briefly earlier on, you talk about the proposals, you talk about what is you're trying to do. Only thing is, well, for this new initiative grants, well, one of the difference compared to before is, well, you must have an IEEE staff working with you. So it is not the volunteer, the staff, the actual paid staff. So by doing that, well, the person we expect will have a better understanding of the mechanism, the reporting requirements, all those things. So if anyone, well, within IEEE community will want to work on this, he or she must be trying to identify, well, some staff are willing to take on the project. So you talk about the name, you talk about the submission deadline. And also another thing is, well, there is no hard deadline for the submission. We accept it throughout the whole year. So we take it that we got a monthly meetings. We take it, we should be able to give you a reply within 45 days. So this is what you see now. Again, the common section you have seen earlier on. Abstract, what is it all about? Provide a description of the proposed initiative to be funded by the seed grant. What's so new about it? Because since we highlight yourself as new and innovative, so you have to describe what's so new and also was it risky or not. What is the strategic importance? Because we need to be aligned, so you need to see how well it matches to the strategic plan and goals of IEEE. And also what is exactly your proposal? Now, pay attention to, you got a number of words put down in here. So we have the limitation, okay? Well, in their new system, we are going to roll out, it can be done everything online. So although up to this point, people submit on a PDF form, but really we're going to online. I think the platform we use is called Open Water, and then that will do automatic counting the word for you as well. And then what are the outcomes, impacts, and metrics? So again, these are the things you need to articulate, to explain why your seed project you think is good, how you address the problem, what's so new, innovative, and how you're going to measure the outcomes. So this is the deliverables. Again, you heard the terms I mentioned earlier on. What are the deliverables? And then the expenses. Now in here, it seems a little bit open in here, but you will see in the other forms, where you see very clearly defined what are the expenses. Well, having said that, it does not mean there is an open checkbook. You still need to follow, well, we have the NIC operational manual. You have to take closely the operational manual to see that what are the things that we do not fund. So do not put anything in that we do not fund. But if you put it in, you have to explain, well, how are you going to meet that one. So in here, well, we're going to break down the overall, because it's a 12 months, so it could be sometime it will overlap in 2 years. And then, well, you have to explain any other additional information. Well, there's no limit in here, so it could be some parts record and all those things. And then explanation, what does it mean by organizational unit or maybe a staff person. But if you think that, well, your work is quite substantial, then you should look for a new initiative project. Now, in this case, this is a two-stage process. Well, we expect you, first of all, submit one preliminary proposal. Actually, right now, we even invite people to write in another informal expression of interest. Because you will see that when you go into the form, it does require you to put in quite a bit of work. And then you need to come up with your team and knowing the people. So we do not really want to waste the time. We do not want to waste the time of the committee as well. So if something we do not think is aligned with our objective, then we tell you, oh, well, sorry, that no point to proceed any further. So on the new initiative preliminary proposal, again, see something similar as well. Staff members, who are the proposers, contacts, etc. Then you see that again, similar as before. What is the summary of your proposal? 200 words. What's so new and innovative? Similar to what you see in the seed grants. What is strategic importance? Similar to before as well. And then you have the goals, or we have specified the goals in here. So you highlight which are the goals. And then identify the operational units. They can participate in it, because we always like to see a collaboration across the units. And also you see the outcomes, impacts, and metrics. Again, this is the same as what you have seen before in the other forms. and then the funding. Now, I mentioned earlier on, well, we may expect to see some kind of revenue. Because of when you submit a major project like this, even go up to $1 million or so, we do not really want to see the project die off after 3 years, the money, $1 million being spent. We expect it to be sustainable. So someone is going to underwrite it, well, afterwards. So you may be able to demonstrate that, okay, we would expect some kind of revenue can be raised through this. One example is like the IEEE Learning Network. You have seen the terms earlier on. Well, they are the teaching material, the cost, well, we charge for those. That will become part of the revenue. Of the projects. Okay, so you have to explain where to anticipate revenues come in. Again, I mentioned about the sustainability. Well, how will IEEE financially sustain and continue the project after the funding will finish? Who are the champions? So this one is only the initial forms. So once we have received the forms, well, the committee member take a good look at it, discuss it, then we decide, are we going to invite the proposer to continue with the full proposal form? Otherwise, we may tell the proposer, sorry, that you really that's not what we're looking for. Or maybe sometimes, well, we may provide some kind of feedback to the proposer. We may even help the proposer by allowing some money that engage an outside consultant to help the proposer to draw up a business plan. Okay, it happened before as well. So our main objective is not so much just simply, well, reject the proposal unless you're really thinking that it's not feasible, does not align with what we want. Otherwise, we would like to help the proposer as much as possible. Then the proposer, if they are continue with the work, they may come back with a full proposal. And again, you see the similar. But in here now, you will see that things have changed quite a bit now. First of all, there's no longer any limitation of words. So again, similar things, well, executive summary. Now, bear in mind, after the preliminary proposal, we may provide some feedback to the proposer. So maybe the proposer need to refine and improve their applications. So explain how IEEE would be better off, describe the deliverables, what are the outcomes and potential impacts, and then what are the metrics. So you can see these terms, you come up over and over again. Okay, so when you write a proposal, always prepare some answers for these items. Well, and then, well, what are the advantages and benefits will bring to IEEE? You must be able to convince the committee members that your project is really good. Well, not good for you, but good for IEEE, good for the community. Okay, of course, implicitly, be good for you. Well, you got a record, you got the money. And then does the advantages and benefits to all the members of sponsoring OU? Or maybe just some of the section or organization. Well, you've seen some of these terms when I describe the IEEE organization. In developing the new initiative proposal, you very likely consider alternatives of the project. What alternatives did you consider and why do you reject it? So this is the one that we will expect you to have the background research while you justify why you go for this particular methodology, why you want to use this technology and how you're going to work on it. Provide a description of the resources needed to accomplish the initiatives and discuss the following issues, like the technology associated with the project. Who are the people? These are resources or requirement. Well, any full-time hire you require. And then also provide a number, general qualification of the hires, because sometimes a major project, you may require additional staff on it. So talk about estimate the number of volunteers. So we're talking about a hire whereby IEEE have to take on the responsibility, not only just to pay the salary, or to also pay for the leave, pay for the insurance. There are a lot of things IEEE have to take it up if there's a employment involved. I mentioned about the risk and uncertainties. Here, even talk about knockout. In other words, maybe asking yourself, what are the worst scenario that cause your project is totally a failure? We expect you to think about it. Identify any positive or negative consideration that could prevent the project from attaining the outcomes and deliverables specified. So really, we would like you to think about what are the worst case scenario. Identify any scheduled projects or other work that will be delayed or canceled if this project is approved. So because sometimes there might be ongoing projects, so we see that any impact on the others. If this project includes development of a product or service that will be sold to the member or external customer, please describe the business marketing plan, attach the plan to this proposal. Now, IEEE, our committee does not expect you the money go to us. So you take everything on the money, you'll be still within the management of the project itself, okay? we only making the decision. Well, even strictly speaking, we don't even have the money. Well, for this one, we only make the recommendation to the board of directors to approve the money. Okay, so we have a budget, but strictly speaking, we do not own the money, except the seed grant. The seed grants 40,000 can be approved by the committee, by us. So this is the revenue, this is the budget. I have mentioned already, well, when you come to a detailed description, they will specify, well, what you're looking at. Well, what are the sources of the revenue? If it's a coursework, maybe you charge them for the fees. If it's use of the equipment, well, there may be some other, if you run a meeting, run a conference, well, maybe you raise revenue from that. Well, maybe you engage external consultants, maybe you conduct surveys, or maybe you have contractors to help you develop your work, or equipment you're going to use, you're going to conduct the workshops, meetings, communication costs, travel costs, well, for the volunteers, for the staff, training costs, promotions, publicity, startup, maintenance, etc., etc. So you can see that we expect, well, the proposer have a really thorough, well, analysis and planning for the budget expenses. And then, well, what are the total expenses? And then, well, minus the revenue, well, then you can have the what money you're expecting, well, from the committee. Then you see the calendar year, where you see how you're going to break down. Now, because all these will have the budget implication on the overall IEEE budget. So that's why all these figures, well, every year, not only just getting the budget approved, we also provide the update as well. We also take a look at the post the NIC. So I have already mentioned the sustainability. So if you anticipate the project is finished in 3 years, what is going to happen next? So you must be able to see that how are you going to maintain this? Are you able to raise additional fund from other sources? So what are the milestones, metrics you're going to use? Who will be responsible for that? Well, what is start time and finish time for the specific task in here? And then provide any additional information you would like the NIC to consider. A lot of time these people put in the additional past track record, etc. They may ask a question, can we see any of the past project? The answer is yes. So you go to the website, you will see there's this particular link, list of new initiatives and the seed grants funded. You can see some example. I'm not going to show you all. Well, NIC program started in 2020, the year 2000. So in other words, you see there's close around 20 years history already. So we only highlight some of these were in the past 6 years or so. Some of these 2013, the seed grant 40,000, IEEE academics. Well, this is the new initiative, 180,000 or so. And then the next one, public policy, 1.2 million, okay? It's around 4 years project. IoT, now IoT is a hot word, everyone talk about IoT. 1.3 million, smart cities, 625,000, e-government for 45,000. Big data, again, is another hot topic right now. So close $1 million. Chapters, this is the 2 small grants, seed grant. Cybersecurity, another big one, 600,000. Green ICT, 800,000. I mentioned about the ILN. This is the one that rolled out. And it's one of the major services where we provide and products. $1.4 million. Reporting computing, 600,000. Environmental engineering, a seed grant. History timeline, 40,000. You may ask a question, can I see actual application form? I have seen people ask in the chat box just now. The answer is yes. Go to the website again. You will see examples of successful NIC proposal. This is where you can take a look at those successful cases. If you download that particular, it's a PDF file, you will see this PDF file, something like this. And then in there, you can see the links. The links will be go to those application form itself. So that will, I'm not going through in detail. You can take a look for yourself. So you see some of those reporting computing, as you said, they got around 800,000. Smart grid initiative phase 2. So again, I leave it to you. There's too much where we have to cover. So if someone is interested, you can take a look at that. Now I'm going to finish off by looking at the research grant itself. So I know that I haven't really covered anything on the research grant. Initially, I was thinking the second speaker will talk about that. And also, well, your directors and your vice chancellor has already covered that. So I'm using the Australian as example. I just try to illustrate, well, the range of the grant they have, and also, well, what are the additional measurements they're looking at right now. So this is the one I will link to what I have used early on during my introduction of myself. Our Australian main research arm is called the Australian Research Council. Well, we have another one, which is called the National Health Research Grant Council. That is the one mainly related to the clinical medical. Well, this is again a major arms of research funding. Well, for the ARC grant, they have a budget around close to $800 million. And then, well, they have two main programs. One is called the Linkage Grant. That is the one expecting those research will work together with the industry. Another one is the Discovery Grant. Each one of these, they subdivided into additional smaller grant as well. So this is the overall. I'm sorry that you may not be able to see the wording very clearly, but you can download this document. You just simply search ARC overview, ARC grant opportunities. So it explains, well, how ARC is looking at, well, the funding for the high quality research and engagement impacts, etc. And then you see two slides when they're talking about the Linkage Grant. So I just, in case you can't read it, I just read out some of these Linkage Grant you see from here. Industry transformation research hubs, well, they give you between 3 to 5 years. The money they give each year between $500,000 to $1 million. Industry transformation training center, well, 4 to 5 years. Again, you can see the money inside. A lot of us, well, as an academic, this is the one I've involved before. I link with some companies called Linkage Project. This is the one between 2 to 5 years. A lot of this money, we use it to fund a research scholarship, okay? During my time, in my case, I have a research scholarship being funded by this. Then we have anything between 50,000 to around 300,000 per year. And must include at least one partner organization. So this is the requirement. And also a lot of time they expect the partner organizations to contribute either physical money or maybe just in-kind contribution. ARC Center of Excellency, these are a major one, okay? So you can fund up to 7 years and maybe between $1 to $5 million, okay? So must include at least one partner organization. A lot of time this is looking at some national priorities. In Australia, the priorities may be looking at security, looking at agriculture, mining. Those are our main industry. Linkage infrastructure, equipment, and facility. This is the one that really mainly for people who are looking for some money, asking for specific equipment, or buying a very high power microscope and those kind of things. So talking about 150,000, and then the special research initiatives, okay, it varies. Another one is called the Discovery Grant. This is the one more fundamental research. So when we talk about the academic, they refer to fundamental research. This is the one that people are looking at. This is the one have been very competitive. As I said, you can range anything between 10 to 15% to around 30%, depending which program you're in. Majority of the people are looking at the Discovery Grant. So this could be up to 5 years. And then this one is being offered annually. That per year can anything between 30,000 to 500,000. I think the success rate, this one is maybe around below 20% or so. A Discovery Indigenous Grant, this is the one that's supporting the indigenous people. So this one again, similar amount, but you got limitation. Only those people with the indigenous background are able to, this one they have a more success rate, maybe around 30% or so. And then you have the early career. Now, because it is recognized, well, for those early career, they may not have a track record compatible to some of those more seasoned and a more mature researcher. So this is, you put them in this different category. A lot of time, this money is really used to pay for salary. Okay, pay for 104,000 salary, plus up to 50,000 project cost. So what it means is this is the research grant, something like the postdoc. So people, they are in the early career, so they get this money, so they let them concentrate. Well, it is not a postdoc, but it's very similar in nature. Another is a future fellowship. Now, these three are very similar. It's only in terms of the money being increased. So this is the one expecting a much more matured, more established researcher. And then Australian laureate, they're looking at the fellowship. This is really more leading, more high-standing researcher. So most probably this amount of money is really used for pay salary, for the person. So these are the main money we have. Then you may ask a question, what are the measurements? Now, when you go into the application form, it's very similar. So I'm not going to bore you with those application forms. It does not really matter with you at all. But I would like to highlight two parameters they're looking at. Now, if you look in the ARC data portal, so you will see that, you can have a link, go to the National Competitive Grants Program. This is the one that you go down all this program. But I will highlight two aspects. One is called ERA and the EI. This is what Australians have been changing in terms of looking at the track record of the proposer. You're looking at, first of all, ERA stands for Excellence Research Australia. This is a measurement of the ranking or the standing of the institution, not the individuals, okay, not the individual. They're looking at, well, how well is your institute, well, performance in the past 3 years, well, based on number of parameters, like the publications, like the, well, grant you're getting. And then, well, they rank, well, the standing, say someone in the computer science, well, they have 5 levels. They consider you as the top of the world. Are you really the leading world standard? Or maybe you are above the world average. That's number 4. Number 5 is the top. Number 4 is above world average. Number 3 is minimum. They expect you to be world average. And then you could be 2, well, below world average, or maybe 1 well below world average. So of course, from the university point of view, well, minimum, they will hope that at least you have a 3. Well, they could have a 2, especially if it's new areas, but they try not to have 1. So if they have the 1, they rather not to submit the data because you need to have a certain amount of data before you can be considered. So they rather leave out in that one. So they see that if your university, if your research area, your department, your research group is able to demonstrate everything is 5, then you are really, well, help a lot in getting the research grant. And then in 2018, they started another one called engagement and impact. So what is this one? This one is really related to the past record, well, of the research work and how well is being implemented, well, to the to have the impact on the community. So they look at other parameters at that now. They look at parameters is, well, how well they're being, the actual community is being benefited from it. How are they going to translate it into the actual on the ground level? Those are the parameters. This is the first exercise they're doing in 2018. So there's some description on what is the ER rate. So this has been around for over 10 years now. So the next one is coming up in 2023. Now, it does not apply to you in India. I'm not going to. But what I'm trying to say is, as far as Australia is concerned, people looking at the research grant is not just based on your application. That's the main thing I'm trying to say. Looking at the track record is very important as far as ARC is concerned. Not so much in IEEE, but then again, well, this is happening. And also the engagement impact assessment. So I'm not surprised that, well, the countries are really follow one another. So I haven't really looked, but I'm pretty sure, well, in other countries, they also look in some of these parameters. So this is where, well, it's important that you need to keep your, well, make up your track records so able to, you can claim a bigger chance of getting your grant application. So you can also download the reports from IEEE, sorry, not from the ARC, so I leave it to you. So all in all, let me finish off with some final words. What are the common errors, well, in the grant application? First of all, your proposal doesn't match the funding purpose. I think this one has been already mentioned. Well, you have to understand, well, why they want to give out the money. But you do not follow the guidelines. It's a very major problem. You do, well, number of words, all those things. Well, your scope and deliverables are not feasible, but not just because, well, you claim something that's very big and people should really fall for it. People knows it. You have some very careless mistakes. Well, because of your grammars, all these things, just like writing a paper as well. Your paper got rejected because you got a bad English, because the formatting is not, well, the page number, well, the diagram number is not in sequence. You got missing pages, you got the wrong references, you got a sequence out of sync. Well, your write up a description is very confusing, okay? Or even using too much technical jargon. One thing you must bear in mind that unlike writing a technical paper, you have only limited numbers of reviewers looking at it, okay? Well, writing to a journal, maybe at the most around 3 or 4 or 5 at the very most. But sometimes writing to a committee, you might have even much more. Our committee in NEC, we have around 10 members, okay? So you only need a 1 or 2, pick out the errors and bring it up to the open, then you might have a very negative image on your application. So also insufficient or overinflated resources. You're asking for too much, you're asking for little. If you're asking for little, people know that it's not realistic. Well, you have no experience doing that. If you're asking for too much, the people think that you're just too greedy. And also a lack of significance. You're not able to articulate, well, why this project is needed, well, why it's so important about it. So you really have to proofread, well, your application over and over again. Don't just think that you can get it in one round. Get other people to have a read. In our university, actually, our university have the research department. Well, you need to go through internally. They have to go through a few times before they send it out to the government. They want to increase your chances of success. But they even engage with some professional to help you to write the grant application as well. Check the complete proposal, because that's why you sometimes going to missing pages from missing diagram. Must follow the format, must follow the format. Do not just try to make it too little or too big. Make sure it's readable, clear, and concise. You must take into account that the readers, well, may not be the expert in your discipline. There may be lay people. Meet the deadline. Again, this is another one you can't afford to miss, okay? You must follow the exact submission procedure. Don't do the last minute work. These are interrelated. Because you do the last minute very rushed, therefore you don't have time to proofread it. And then, well, you try to squeeze too much information. You think that, okay, because it did not count the number of words, so I reduced my fonts. It makes the reader so annoying. And unrealistic, well, I have already mentioned unrealistic deliverables, the time schedules, and unreasonable requests for the resources. You ignore the instructions. Really quite similar to the common errors we have seen. You cite the sources where we are uncheckable, or this is quite similar in writing a paper. You try to quote some references, but really, the reader no way to check it. If it's a paper, I can download it if it's open. But if you say it's an internal report, if you say that, oh, the paper has been submitted, it's not published, then what am I going to check? Don't tell me that. And in particular, don't try to make your description so inflated, too shallow, or maybe too hollow, okay? And you try to claim the significance. On one hand, you don't have enough significance is bad, but on the other hand, well, if you make it too much, well, people know that it's not happening. And also ignore the lessons from previous failure. Now, one of the things is, well, you don't really expect, well, your submission is going to be, well, you can be successful the first round, congratulations. But as I have said, if you're looking at the success rate of 50%, maybe 10%, on average, maybe 5 years, well, someone can only get one in. So during these 5 years, maybe you have to learn along the way if you get some feedback. In the ARC application round, actually, we do a fair things in a sense that we have something called rejoiner. So we submit the application beginning of the year. Sometime mid-year, you come back with some kind of comment. And you have to answer to those comments. And then, well, this is what we call rejoiners. And then, well, they will make a decision. Now, they will not tell you why, well, you don't get it, okay? Unless you know the people, depending on you try to find out indirectly. Otherwise, they may not tell you. But a lot of time in the rejoiner, more or less, well, you can get a hint, well, what are they looking at? Okay, so you have to learn from that. So in summary, well, I must say that, well, the ability to write effective grant proposal is an important skill for students, well, faculty members, and researchers. As I say, even for students, you can work on that. You can apply for some small grant, IEEE, get some small project that will help you with your CV and your experience. One needs to understand clearly what he or she wants to do with the project and what it aims to achieve. You must be able to articulate it. You must explain clearly what is your project all about, what you try to achieve. It is important to know the purpose of the grant. This is just like the first point, well, the first error one could make, that you're applying for something, it is not what the project is aimed for. Follow the instructions very carefully. So don't take it because, well, you got a failure because you think that, well, people think that you are no good. No, you could have a very good proposal, a very good project, but just simply you have made some other silly mistakes. And then if I use IEEE as an example, there are a lot of sources. So you can, it's not a bad idea, you can try it out. Well, for some grants and projects, but they're mainly for practical and applied development. So in other words, don't ask the projects for scholarship. Don't ask project, well, for doing a basic research. Well, IEEE, well, we want to have the service and the product for our members and for the community. It's not for your own basic research. And that one, maybe you need to apply for the government grants. You have to keep trying and learning. Okay, so I'm really coming to the end of my slides. So maybe I thank you for your attention, and I wish everyone in here, well, the success with your grant application. So with this, I'm going to stop my sharing, and I'm going to pass the time back to you. Now, I know that there could be some question. May I suggest that you type in the chat box, so I read it out from the chat box, and then I try to address those questions, okay? Okay, so I'm talking about the feedback link. I leave it to you. And then I'm just looking backwards now. Informative section, well delivered, thank you very much. Very informative sections, thank you very much. Some emails, you share a lot of information with us, thank you very much. Ah, Pondicherry University. I like Pondicherry. Okay, I was in Pondicherry 2 years ago, and I was really amazed with the history that there used to be a French colony. I never realized that. So I would like to visit that place again. Beautiful place. I like the buildings. Do I have any questions? Okay, thanks everyone. I don't see much question being asked. Do we get a e-certificate? I'll leave it to the organizer to work on that. Very informative and useful, very informative, okay. So as I said, I welcome any questions. So if you want to, please put in the chat box for me, then I will read it out, and I try to answer your question as much as I could. Okay, I'm just going back to some of the earlier ones. I think something I might have missed, and I don't really see any question in there. Technical fault on your side, please check. No. Samples project. So okay, I've said already, you can take a look at Nick. There are some samples project in there. Any others? Okay. I really don't see much on there. Okay, can I pass the control back to the host? So can you take over, and if you want to invite the questions, whatever it is, because I don't see much questions right in the chat box. Dr. Kumar, are you there? I don't hear anything at all.
Yes, sir. We are hearing you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, as I said, I don't really see any questions in here. So they're free. Okay, I can see one question now. How can we make our project proposal to meet the requirements? How to attract I have been asked this question. I should have another slide. Well, what are the frequent asked questions? Okay. Last time when I did my presentation, I highlighted some of those. First of all, I must say that when you say you meet the requirements, then my first answer to you is you must follow the instruction. Read very carefully whatever document they have given out. Most of them, they will give out some kind of a guideline. Okay, well, you see in the examples of the NIC, well, the NICS form itself have the question inside there already. Most of the others, well, like in ARC. So how to make it attractive? Well, I think it's already mentioned by Professor Rakesh earlier on. The title is a start-off point. Summary is another one. It's really no difference compared to when you write a technical paper. A technical paper, the first one you want to get people's attention is a title, so that the title is closely related to what you're going to do in your paper. Same thing applies to your project. So it's the first thing. Second thing, a description of the proposal. You must be able to concisely get the people, well, attention. So you are able to describe the problem you're in, well, how you see that you're going to solve the problem within the limited number of words. So that is a trick, that is an art, or that is a science, okay? So I have no single answer to you, okay? So it's just like you asked me the question, can I buy a lottery ticket? How can I guarantee I'm going to win? Honestly, I don't. I only give you some general guideline. How to check impact factors of a particular journal. Oh, this one's easy, okay? Just simply Google it, okay? Impact factor, well, there are some sites, well, they can list down what are the ranking, what impact factor of that one. That is not a major issue. Sample format, as I said, you can take a look at next, there's some sample format in there already. Could you explain how to address for the reviewer's comment? Now, it all depends, are you having the opportunity to answer to those comments?
Hello, Professor Lance, you are not audible to us.
Okay, can you still hear me? Can you hear me? I don't know, I haven't done anything on my side.
Now we are able to hear you.
Yes, sir. Your audio is on.
We can hear you, sir.
Please.
Okay, if you hear me, I answer the question. How to address for reviewers' comment. As I said, first of all, not necessarily, well, all the grant application give you a chance, well, to respond to the reviewer. Now, depends on sometimes, well, most of the IEEE situation, well, you give a submission, we give you the answer. I myself, in my committee, I will also try to give you the comments given by the reviewer. mainly that is given to you, try to help you to execute your program. Well, we are not expecting you to give us some answer, then we make a decision. We don't go through that at all. Majority of the thing is, well, you submit, we rely whatever you tell us, and then well, we may give you some feedback to help you to execute your project, but it is not based on your answer. But in the next case, sometimes we may have some queries, we will ask them. So the answer is, well, just simply answer whatever they ask you, okay? Just ask a question, well, they ask you explain how to use the budget, explain that. So there's no single answer. So come back to how to address the reviewers' comment, just answer it faithfully, okay? What other question I have in here? Let me take a look, 20 new messages. Maybe I try to go down in here now. Audio problem. Session is 2 p.m. Okay, now it's coming to 4 o'clock. Can you explain that this is the same as before? Is this session over? Up to you, you're free to go. I cannot hold you back. How can we implement research paper? Now, I'm not too sure what I mean by implement research paper. So if it's your work, well, your paper, well, you decide how to implement it. If it's other people's paper, then you will see that whether it's feasible for you to repeat it. Proposal format. Well, take a look at next. There are examples inside there. Take a look down, you can download the form. I'm only using it. Oh, you have to take a look whatever funding organization and take a look, do they have any examples for you to follow? What else? How can we make the project proposal to meet the requirement? I've already answered this already. So I should have answered this. Impact factor, I've done this already. Okay, you have the same question being asked a few times. Will the feedback link post on the Telegram or Zoom chat box? So you decide. I'm not dealing with that. Okay, Telegram group, I'm not involved. Okay, thank you. Really an eye-opener to the scholar. Congratulations. Okay, Dr. Shanta, good luck with your work. Okay, I don't really see any more questions. Okay, I leave it back to you, Dr. Kumar. See, decide what happened. I think people may be getting tired. Could you explain good practices we should follow in deciding title of the project? Good ideas, good question. I would say to think of some of the keywords. So the keyword, if you're talking about the grant application, a lot of time will be there's some keywords related to the problem and some keywords related to the methodologies, okay? So that's the most you can do. So say, for example, you want to, well, develop some kind of new solar system, renewable water pump plants, well, for the villages of ABC. So you highlight, okay, it's the ABC village, you highlight the need of the solar panel energy, whatever format. So at least people looking at it straight away, well, have an idea what you're trying to do, or what is the problem you solve. So that would be the first one. I think the title we mentioned a few times, and then you need to describe it clearly in terms of the description of the summary. A request to organizer to post a recording on YouTube to everyone. Okay, not yours. Any website for loading tourism. Organization funding for tourism research projects? I do not know. Well, you take a look at your country. Sir, you are very handsome. Well, that's not a question, that's a statement. All right, thank you very much. Very
so
informative.
Dear Dr. Kumar, proceed for the valedictory if queries are over.
There is one question. What is the optimal length of a good research proposal? Good question. Now, some of the research proposal, they do put in some hard limit on you. Say when I ask for the EAC proposal, we make it clear, 2 pages, 4 pages, and then you have seen in the next case, they even specify number of words as well. So normally in the instruction, they will tell you. So there's no such thing as an optimal. Well, because you have already got some very tight margin or limit on you already. So you have to follow that the limitation. But then again, well, if you are free, well, there's no limitation on that, then you have to consider the time of your reviewer. Because your reviewer is not going to read just your proposal. He or she is going to read a lot of proposal. So that's why we keep on saying that your optimal is how concise you can be. So just like writing something, just like telling a story, you do not want to beat around the bush and then before you come to the main point. You want to be precise, you want to be concise, you want to be clear, you want to be focused. So again, it's not the length that issue. I cannot tell you because 1 page, 2 pages is better. I can't tell you. Depending on the size of a project. If a project is going to ask for $1 million or so, recently in the last meeting we have in NIC, I have one project coming in over 100 pages. Well, the reason behind it is because we're asking quite a fair bit of money, and they have engaged an outside consultants to come up with a business plan for them. And that report is already close to 100 pages, okay? Our form is quite strictly limited, okay? So in other words, again, I have no single answer to that, but rather I just simply say that, well, you really have to do your best, and well, based on the guideline, well, try to be concise, try to be precise, and also you need to write. And then this is where is the learning coming from. Okay, what else? What is optimal link? I've already mentioned that. Okay, YouTube, I've done that. Any website loading proposal for giving suggestion. I've told you already, the NIC is another one. Okay. Ah, okay, good. What are the roles of ethics in research? Ah, very good question. Now, one thing I didn't talk in this talk is about the ethics. Now, there are two things we're talking about. Well, when you talk about publication, all these things, you know that already the ethics, like the plagiarism, all those things, is a minimum requirement. But we do have some kind of project, you need to have the ethics approval. Well, in Australia, we have a very strict guideline on that. In my university, we have two areas. One is the animal research, and that one is human research. That one actually is another application form you need to go through. So again, it's a similar things, but that one is even much more thorough because, well, it asks you a question like the privacy, and also make sure that, well, you do not bribe the people taking in part. There's a lot of clear. Again, I would just simply say to go back to the forms, and then, well, there are national guidelines for what can be done, what cannot be done. If you can recall, not long ago, I think maybe a couple of years ago, there was one Chinese academics, they're doing some genetic type of work. And then, well, that particular type of work is not that difficult. They're playing around with the human genes and all those things, but it's not really ethical, okay? So, and then the guy said, go ahead. And then in the end, actually, China government and the university disowned him and then condemned him as well. At first, he might thought that, oh, I'm just doing something nobody have done. Nobody have done because ethically people doing that they should not do it. But this guy did it and even tried to, well, present it as a paper. They just go too much, okay? So I would say that you need to follow the ethical requirement. There are legal implications as well, especially the way you spend the money, okay? So not only ethical, I would say even legally, okay? So sure, can you share the experience with us? Well, I'm not too sure what experience you're talking about. I'm sharing the experience, well, from the member of a NIC, that's what I'm telling you as well. Okay, I know that there was one question in the past, asked me, can you share with me your experience for your first application? My answer, yes, I failed, full stop. Really, that's all. Well, you have to learn from it, okay? So how to get funding research project in CSE. So again, I mentioned about a research project, it all depending on where you find the funding. Okay, so if you are looking at a pure basic research, you have to take a look at maybe your university have some funding, well, your local government, well, your Indian Research Council, you have to look for that, okay? Recording the answers, no. What is the roles of ethics? I've done it already. Any website on good practices? Well, you can take a look, just simply Google, well, how to write a research grant proposal. You have a lot of in there.
Dear organizing team members, please proceed.
Okay, there was one question. How to extend a conference paper to journal? That's a good question. It's not really entirely dealing with this topic, but I have shared with that in the other presentation before as well. Well, there are guidelines in IEEE. Well, in general, it's acceptable. You can go convert a conference paper to a journal, but because of the normal requirements of the length of these things, because the common requirements, we do not expect a paper is going to be double dipping. Double dipping, it means that, oh, I publish in the journal and then I publish to the conference. It is not acceptable. But after you've done the conference papers, maybe even you have one or two, you can provide extensive or substantial extension, then go to the journal. And a lot of times people, they may also expect you to have a page of summary, summarizing what has been changed, what has been improved. Again, on IEEE website, you can find out that. Okay, I haven't got it handy with me, but you can follow that. We have the guideline, you can publish both at the same time. but you cannot publish a journal first before a conference. Okay, that's one of the requirements. So you can publish a conference paper, then you submit it as a journal with a substantial moderation, modification, and also you highlight what are the modifications you have done. Okay, I answered that question already.
Now query
Okay, so
section
it's
is
4
over.
o'clock.
Now query section is over.
Okay,
Thanks,
so I think it's time catching up. So I should be finishing off my sign now. Okay, I've already spent close to 3 hours now. Okay, any other question?
Ranjana madam, you may please take up.
Yes, sir. Okay, query section is over. Thanks a ton for your commendable presentation, which has enlightened all of us with throughout knowledge. Thank you, sir, your motivational word. Thank you so much, sir. So, this webinar is really memorable webinar in this crucial period of COVID-19, which proved that education never stopped. By these words, I would like invite respected Professor R.K. Dwivedi. Please join the validatory section for this webinar. Welcome, sir. Please.
Thank you, Madam Ranjana. My sincere thanks and gratitude to Professor Lance. Your marathon session has really, what I can say, I do not have words to express my gratitude to you. Very nicely you have narrated the topic that writing a research grant proposal. You have also taken care of IEEE and IEEE activities and many other aspects, and handled all the queries of budding researchers. So this is really a wonderful platform, and the list of participants is really huge, and I hope they have learned something new, how to write a better proposal for the taking the financial grant. What I can say, my best wishes and sincere thanks to the organizing team members. A special thanks to Dr. Rajiv Kumar, Mr. Amit Kumar Singh, Madam Ranjana Sharma, and other organizing team members who had tried their level best. I am thankful to Honorable Vice Chancellor who has given his valuable time to address the session. Thank you one and all. Stay safe, stay connected in this COVID-19 time. Hoping the world gets better soon. Thank you.
Okay, once again, thank you very much for your attendance and thank you for your interest, and I wish you well. And I hope that anything I can help. Well, on my last slide, I have my email address and my website, lancefeng.net, and my email address, lancefeng.net.
Sir, we want to know about feedback link.
So, thank you very much.
Link will be provided in the Telegram group or via through our email ID.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Sir, kindly share on the.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I am not on Telegram.
Thank you so much, sir.
Sir, I am not on Telegram.
Thank you, all of you. On the behalf of Faculty Engineering and Computing Sciences, TMU, I express my deep